Chapter 1983. Help and Rescue. Champion University was ready to protect themselves, but the pressure was terrifying. He Xiao was a guest of the Ying clan, and kept watching Lin Feng with his destiny vision. He found that Lin Feng kept hiding in Champion University, but he still couldn't find Xiao Wuxian. He Xiao finally decided to go to Champion University. There he would be able to see what had happened on the day Xiao Wuxian had disappeared. Outside of Champion University, the four holy great emperors were respectively seated cross-legged at the north, south, east and west gates. People who came back or left Champion University were shocked. Each time they passed next to those people, they felt the pressure. People in Champion University couldn't have normal lives anymore, and the ancestors of the university couldn't solve the issue. At that moment, He Xiao arrived and immediately entered the university. However, an old man appeared in front of He Xiao and said indifferently, "Who are you?" "He Xiao from the He clan in Tianyuan Ancient City," He Xiao replied calmly. Tianyuan Ancient City was one of the three main cities of the Dark Night region. Just like the Holy City, everybody in the Holy City knew that the He clan had some incredible cultivators. The old man of Champion University also knew about them. "Why would someone from the He clan come to Champion University?" asked the old man, surprised, yet he sounded calm. "I need to see something," answered He Xiao calmly. "I don't want you to use your destiny vision in Champion University. Champion University is not under the control of the He clan. I don't want you to find out our secrets. Please leave, mister," said the old man calmly. He Xiao frowned. He knew that coming to Champion University and using his destiny vision was impolite, but he wanted to see how Xiao Wuxian was hiding from him. Champion University knew that the four ancient holy clans had called on the He clan for help. Now He Xiao wanted to go to Champion University to check their secrets. How could they allow that? "Do you think Champion University is that strong?" asked He Xiao icily. Surprisingly, they didn't let him into the university. "If you were a guest, we'd be happy to host you. However, we know perfectly well what you're doing. Those four people are waiting outside, and now you're coming here. How impolite and arrogant," said the old man mockingly. He Xiao groaned icily and said, "All right, since it's that way, I don't need to enter." "See you," said the old man indifferently. He Xiao angrily turned around and left. He Xiao appeared in the sky in the middle of the four holy great emperors. They nodded at him, and He Xiao said, "Champion University is already getting ready for war. They don't even care about offending four ancient holy clans. They even challenged me, He Xiao, verbally. Champion University is nearing their fated end." The holy great emperor of the Ji clan smiled. "Champion University is stupid, but will definitely kidnap Lin Feng." In the distance, some people heard them and shuddered with dread. The Ji clan, the Ying clan, and so on have existed for such a long time. We don't know what they are capable of. Nobody really knows how strong their people can be. We don't know how many holy great emperors they have. Even though an ancient holy clan can't be stronger than a university, for ancient holy clans is another story. Champion University is under great pressure. "Maybe the managers of the university can't come to an agreement concerning the solution," said someone. Many people nodded agreement with those words. The managers of Champion University might have different opinions. In the Celestial Mountains, there was a gigantic chessboard and 6 old men, who could make the whole holy city shake with dread, were seated on it. The other old men were still traveling, so some people were missing. Champion University has existed for such a long time. Nobody has ever dared humiliate us like that. Even if they are ancient holy clans, so what? We must fight, said Ancestor Shirtian icily. He looked furious. He had always liked Lin Feng. "I agree with Shirtian," said Ancestor Xiantian icily. "Those people dared humiliate them. They had to die, especially that they were waiting around their territory." However, at that moment Ancestor Zhu Tian kept tapping the chessboard with his fingers, tap, tap, tap. Before he said slowly, "The Ji clan, the Ying clan, the Pei clan, the Yuan clan. The Ji clan and the Ying clan are the oldest ancient holy clans among them. The Pei clan and the Yuan clan aren't weak. If we fight we could win, but we would suffer many losses, and the 3 other universities would finish us and get rid of us. I've always had good relations with all the clans. At the beginning, I was the one who had noticed Ji Chong. Even though he lost against Lin Feng, we can't neglect the fact that he's really strong. Sometimes you have to think everything is happening because of one student. Is it worth it? Said another ancestor straightforwardly. So we should sacrifice a student? Is that what you're saying? Shouted ancestor Shirtian furiously. Exactly bullshit. We can't sacrifice any student, Lin Feng or any other. It's all the same. You just don't sacrifice your people. Imagine if we did. Nobody would want to come and study here anymore. Swore ancestor Xiantian furiously. The old men all spoke up, and the atmosphere calmed down again. It was not because they were all ancestors in Champion University that they had the same opinion. Ancestor Mo Tian and Ancestor Zhu Tian were close to the Ji clan. They were even Ji Chang's teachers. Lin Feng had been noticed by Ancestor Xiantian and Ancestor Shirtian, and they were ready to use their full strength to protect him. Of course, the two other ancestors were on Ancestor Shirtian's side. Lin Feng was a student of Champion University, after all, and he was extremely talented. They felt pressured. They didn't fear a battle, but at the same time they wanted to be vigilant. A single mistake and things could degenerate quickly. No matter what, Champion University can't abandon Lin Feng. Even if we don't fight, we can't do anything against him, said Ancestor Shirtian. The others remained silent. Nobody was going to suggest handing Lin Feng over. But that way, they wouldn't be able to wait too long. The Holy Great Emperors were still outside waiting. Champion University was under pressure. They couldn't do much about it. What would happen? On that day, Qing Feng and Wu left Champion University and went somewhere. When they came back, they told Lin Feng some good news. They made him wait. They went and had a walk outside Champion University again. Tiantai's people were wondering what they were planning. Why was Qing Feng so confident? For Holy Great Emperors were outside of Champion University. They had shown how committed they were. If Lin Feng didn't come out, they would take measures. Lang Yi from the World Clan contacted Lin Feng and gave him some good news. If Lin Feng wanted to go out and have a walk, he could tell him. Lin Feng was at the waterfall. He looked thoughtful before he turned around and left. Chapter 1984. Competing, the four Saint Emperors were still outside. It didn't look auspicious. Finally, on that day, Lin Feng got some pieces of information, stood up and left alone. Where is Lin Feng going? Champion University's people saw Lin Feng and were astonished. They were shuddering with anxiety. What was going to happen to Lin Feng? He's going out of Champion University. Many people were shaking. Some people followed Lin Feng. They wanted to see if he was really going to go out. After a short time, Lin Feng arrived at an exit and walked up to the gate. Lin Feng would dare go out. At that moment, outside of Champion University, many people were astonished when they saw him. Suddenly, Lin Feng sensed a terrifying oppressive strength press down on him. He just raised his head and gazed into the distance. He saw the four Saint Emperors in the sky. Finally, you came out, said the Saint Emperor of the Ji clan, smiling coldly. He waved his hand, and a gigantic golden hand appeared and grabbed Lin Feng. He couldn't move anymore. Release him, said someone icily. Two cultivators appeared in the university, Ancestor Xiantian and Ancestor Shirtian. Are you really going to get involved? Said the Saint Emperor of the Ji clan icily. Let him go. A strong wind started blowing. We're taking Lin Feng away today, said the Saint Emperor of the Ji clan. He took his hand back, and then amazingly, Lin Feng passed by them. The four Saint Emperors frowned. Lin Feng was passing them by, and the two strong cultivators of Champion University were protecting him? They were going to the city center? Was it a signal? Champion University had planned something? Many people from the Pei clan, the Ji clan, the Yuan clan, and the Ying clan also arrived. People raised their heads and saw so many people. It was oppressive and terrifying, and they shivered at what might happen. Some clouds started appearing in the sky. Although the air was still calm, three strange people appeared. One of them was a young person, a medium-level emperor, but the two cultivators behind him were terrifying. That kind of qi could make a person suffocate. How strong were they? Behind them, in the distance, 4 more people appeared, also shaking the people who saw them. It's Lin Feng, I've already seen him. Lin Feng came out of Champion University. So those 4 people behind them must be the Saint Emperors of the 4 ancient holy clans. How bold. Lin Feng dared come out. And 2 elders of Champion University are protecting him. Do they want to fight against the ancient holy clans? They'll definitely lose. Lin Feng is doomed. Or maybe he has more trump cards. He dares act that arrogantly. They're ready to fight though, they're already outside. Some peerless cultivators are probably going to show up. Many people were talking. Some others also started following Lin Feng, and the 2 old men from a safe distance. Dong! There was the sound of a great bell. And a light beam appeared. It was as if the sky was about to collapse. An old man in a golden robe appeared, exuding incredible strength. Jidang Tian, said Ancestor Shirtian when he saw that cultivator. The old man in the distance frowned. Jidang Tian was an ancestor from the Ji clan. Ancestor Shirtian, we don't want to be enemies with Champion University. Hand Lin Feng over, said Jidang Tian. Loud ringing sounds kept spreading out in the air and echoing. That's not how you convince people, replied Ancestor Shirtian indifferently. And me, said someone in the distance. People's hearts were pounding. Another person appeared and moved at the speed of light. He looked like an extremely conceited middle-aged man. His black hair looked as sharp as swords. Empty space energies undulated in his eyes. Ing Zichu. When Ancestor Shirtian saw him, he didn't look surprised, but he sounded furious. Ing Zichu used to be a genius of the Ing clan 1,000 years before. And he still looked very young. That man was already more than 1,000 years old. He looked even stronger than Jidang Tian. And us. 2 more people appeared. One of them was wearing cyan clothes, another one purple clothes. They all had a common point. Their chi was terrifying. Yuan Taishan Pei Chong Yang. The crowd was astonished, the ancestors of the 4 ancient holy clans. Ancestor Xian Tian, Ancestor Shirtian, give us the boy, said Ing Zichu calmly. They think highly of me. So many Saint Emperors because of me, thought Lin Feng looking at those terrifying cultivators icily. We'll see how sly these people can be. I know that some other people are here. Animal world, come out, said Jidang Tian indifferently. A terrifying bestial chi rose up in the air, and 3 more incredibly strong cultivators of the animal world appeared. Master, said Lin Feng, nodding at those 3 people. Hey, said the leader of the group amiably. He looked at the Saint Emperors and said indifferently, 4 ancient holy clans are joining hands to deal with a medium-level emperor? Ridiculous. You came from the vast celestial ancient city to cause trouble in the holy city. You think you can prevent us from capturing Lin Feng? Ing Zichu said to the 3 cultivators of the animal clan, releasing a terrifying chi. Try and you'll see. We'll try. At that moment, a terrifying chi rose up in the air. People retreated quickly. It was dangerous to stay too close. I've heard a lot about your achievements, Ancestor Shirtian. Let's exchange views on cultivation, said Jidang Tian before darting forwards. Ancestor Shirtian didn't fear him. He also jumped forwards as a strong wind started blowing and turned into a tornado. The air began to rumble. The 2 cultivators looked slow and calm, but their first punch made the earth and sky shake violently. In the distance, some people who weren't strong enough coughed up blood, and their faces turned deathly pale. They were forced away. Many other people felt dizzy. Lin Feng's organs shook violently too. How terrifying. It was as if the gods had started fighting. Ancestor Xian Tian. Ing Zichu looked at Ancestor Xian Tian, and they started fighting. The crowd moved even further away. Yuan Taishan and Pei Chong Yang also charged the cultivators of the animal world. Yuan Taishan fought against one of them. The 2 others fought against Pei Chong Yang. At that moment, the 4 other Saint Emperors walked towards Lin Feng and oppressed him. Let's see who can protect you today, said the Saint Emperor of the Ji clan in satisfaction. His silhouette flickered and he moved towards Lin Feng, an illusionary hand reaching out. However, his hand ended up with nothing. He couldn't grab Lin Feng. Lin Feng was still there, but it was as if he had ended up in another world and was watching him from there. Who? Shouted the Saint Emperor of the Ji clan furiously. In reply, a hand slowly appeared and moved towards him. Surprisingly, he started running away. Chapter 1985. Terrifying great war. The Saint Emperor of the Ji clan shouted furiously. Cyan lights filled the air, and a silhouette appeared in front of him. World strength! The Saint Emperor of the Ji clan frowned. He looked at the cyan lights, and the old man who had appeared in front of him. That's world strength. The people in the distance frowned. World strength was very rare and mysterious. Those people were from the mysterious World Clan? Destroy! The strong cultivator of the World Clan punched the atmosphere in the direction of the Saint Emperor of the Ji clan. A strong and explosive wind started blowing, threatening to collapse everything. Strange cyan lights flashed in every direction. The Saint Emperor of the Ji clan groaned icily, and released an endless number of cyan dragons towards those lights. A terrifying destructive strength filled the air, and the strange lights exploded and crackled against it. The cyan dragons looked immortal, and in the end, the energies dispersed. At the same time, another strong cultivator appeared next to Lin Feng. Cyan lights surrounded them both, and they ended up in another world. Why is the World Clan helping him now? Demanded the Saint Emperor of the Ji clan to the Saint Emperor of the World Clan icily. The cyan lights in the air were indistinct. He had been taken away to another world. Lin Feng is our friend. The Saint Emperor of the World Clan replied indifferently. The Saint Emperor of the Ji clan looked stupefied and said, I see. Well, let's see if the World Clan can protect him or not. The World Clan and the animal world were from abroad. The Ji clan, the Ying clan, and others were from the Holy City, and they were ancient holy clans. They ruled over the Holy City. Try then, said the Saint Emperor of the World Clan icily. Many years had passed since the last time they had come out. Many young people had forgotten about them, or didn't even know about them. It was also an opportunity for them to regain their prestige. In the distance, the crowd was stupefied when they heard them. They looked at Lin Feng. Such a terrifying battle was happening because of a medium-level emperor. These people were all from ancient holy clans. Even celestial emperors couldn't get involved in such a terrifying battle. There were only saint emperors or ancestors. The Holy City hadn't had such a terrifying battle for a very long time, and Lin Feng was the protagonist in that story. The strong cultivators in the sky could only use strength to fight. If they used other methods, millions of people would die in the region. Ancestor Shirtian and Jidang Tian kept fighting and colliding. Ancestor Shirtian turned into a dark gray energy, illusionary gray energy emerging from his body. The impression was that ancient gods had come for Judgment Day. Jidang Tian grunted icily. He made a cutting motion, and a terrifying and gigantic cyan dragon appeared. The space seemed to be cut into two where the dragon appeared. Terrifying destructive energies dashed to the skies. Imprint death, said Ancestor Shirtian icily. His eyes became dazzling as light beams emerged from them. The rays lashed straight towards Jidang Tian's eyes. At the same time, he ran forwards, a halberd appearing in his hands, strong wind energies emerging from it. The halberd cut through the air towards the terrifying cyan dragon, a long gray trail appearing behind it. Jidang Tian moved aside and closed his eyes. It felt like a terrifying battle had been going on inside his head as well. However, at the same time, he flashed forwards, the earth and sky shaking violently. The ancient cyan dragon roared in a thundering rage and attacked. Some buildings started collapsing as a gigantic path also appeared behind the dragon. Jidang Tian kept running ahead. The cyan dragon flew towards Ancestor Shirtian. People on the ground raised their heads. What a terrifying battle! Back! Other people kept running away. Ancestor Shirtian raised his gigantic halberd and shouted extremely loudly, Jidang Tian, will you give up or not? Lin Feng is doomed, said Jidang Tian icily. All right, we'll see how you intend to capture him, said Ancestor Shirtian, his halberd descending from the sky. The heavens and earth kept shaking violently. The halberd shot towards Jidang Tian, slicing apart the air. It was Ancestor Shirtian's special strength, and almost impossible to stop. Jidang Tian's robe fluttered furiously as he made some hand seals. His cyan dragons roaring again. The heavens and earth kept shaking. A destructive energy pulsed out towards the halberd. Ancestor Shirtian jumped forwards. He looked like a sword holding a halberd. He looked terrifying. "Piss off," shouted Ji Dangtian. Cyan dragons kept attacking. Destructive energies exploded all around them. However, Ancestor Shurtian was surrounded by Peerless sword lights, and nothing could stop him. The air was being shredded around him. The Cyan dragons started being cut into two. Ji Dangtian kept advancing, rumbling spreading out around him, and terrifying fissures appeared as the atmosphere was literally being destroyed. The air around him kept exploding. The halberd crashed down onto his energies. Explosions rang out around Ancestor Shurtian, and his muscles twitched. He had the brief impression he was going to explode. Ji Dangtian was having a hard time too. He coughed up blood, and was forced away. "They're both badly injured," thought the astonished crowd. How incredible! Those strong cultivators' energies wouldn't disperse for a very long time. Saint Emperor's energies lasted for a very long time, but explosions kept shaking them. The strong cultivators in the sky kept fighting. Ji Dangtian swore icily. "Ancestor Shurtian, you declared the war against our 4 ancient holy clans today. So what? I protected Linfeng. Nobody will take him away," said Ancestor Shurtian, continued to press forwards with the halberd in his hands. He looked invincible. Ancestor Xiantian and Ing Zichu's battle was terrifying too. Nobody dared get close to them. They were already some distance away. Linfeng was the only medium-level emperor in the middle of the battle, but a strong cultivator was protecting him. Even great emperors didn't dare get too close, and remained far away among the rest of the crowd. More and more strong cultivators from the 4 ancient holy clans kept arriving, but there were only Saint Emperors fighting, so they couldn't get involved. How terrifying! That Saint Emperor is hundreds of thousands of years old. He's a legendary cultivator who is still alive. For many people, becoming a great emperor was already extremely difficult. If Saint Emperors didn't get killed or injured, they could live for a very, very long time. They were almost immortal. In the distance, people from Champion University were watching the battle in astonishment. Those people were fighting because of Linfeng. The 4 ancient holy clans, the Animal World, the World Clan, and 2 ancestors of the university. What a terrifying battle! Some people were injured. Those cultivators could even destroy entire cities. If those ancient holy clans lost cultivators, it would be a tragedy. But maybe that they hadn't anticipated such a thing could happen. Chapter 1986. Inside information at that moment. Everybody was stunned, just watching everything going on. Yuan Taishan from the Yuan clan was furious. The seasons kept changing around him. The moon and the stars appeared. Then the sun and a blue sky replaced them, and the cycle continued. Yuan Taishan is even using his spirit, thought the crowd, shivering at the sight. It was a galaxy. The stars were rising and moved towards the old man of the animal world. The stars were dazzling, and harder than mountains. It felt like the earth and sky were about to collapse. The old man of the animal world looked at him icily. Black flames started burning around him. He looked like a divine supernatural bird as he slowly rose up into the air. The bird shrieked, and made the earth and sky shake violently. Some people who were several kilometers away spat out blood. The incoming stars collapsed and broke apart, falling down from the sky. Many ancient phoenixes appeared as if they had been summoned. The phoenixes opened their wings and streamed towards Yuan Taishan. Each phoenix seemed like they could burn a whole world. Many stars fell down from the sky. It was a spectacular sight. It reminded people of tales of ancient epic battles. Stars falling down from the sky, the earth and sky burning, the heavens on fire. The animal world's emperor simply charged, stirring up a windstorm as he did. The animal world was so strong and dazzling. Yuan Taishan coughed up blood. His clothes started burning. He was retreating and fighting at the same time. The strong cultivator of the animal world was too strong. Your ancient holy clan can oppress a young emperor. Maybe you will manage to kill him. But you forgot that if the young people of your clan come out and travel, we can also kill them one after the other, said the old man of the animal world. He looked like an ancient phoenix. The crowd was stunned. Try and dare. We will destroy your animal world and wipe it off the maps of the Dark Night region, promised Yuan Taishan icily. In the distance, the old man of the animal world grunted icily. Suddenly, he turned around and spat out flames at someone. The old man of the animal world looked like a death bird from hell. "Piss off!" shouted the old man of the animal world explosively. His enemy looked fearless and furious, raising his hand. A decaying chi penetrated into the animal world emperor's body, and he retreated. He raised his hand, which had turned black. His arm was growing darker and darker. Someone else arrived, thought the crowd. The person who arrived looked like a skeleton with dried bones. He was extremely skinny, and looked as if he were about to die. The animal world's cultivator raised his hand, and terrifying flames appeared. His sleeves burned as his chi gained in intensity. Some more cultivators of the 4 ancient holy clans are arriving. I wonder whether the 2 ancestors of Champion University, the animal world and the world clan, can still protect Lin Feng? Was now the question on everyone's lips. They were beyond astonished at this point. 2 more Saint Emperors moved towards Lin Feng and looked at him icily. Since they were already fighting, they didn't need to control themselves anymore. They could capture Lin Feng as they wished. Otherwise, this battle wouldn't be worth it. Dong! The 2 Saint Emperors jumped towards Lin Feng. The strong cultivator of the world clan looked at them icily. His terrifying world lights were like a new sky. He waved his hands. The world lights around Lin Feng dispersed, and Lin Feng vanished along with them. The world clan have such strange powers. They control world strength. Everybody was stupefied. The old man suddenly jumped into the world lights as well. Had they gone into his own world? The crowd saw the 2 cultivators who were initially running towards Lin Feng move back. Terrifying world lights moved towards one of them. His expression changed drastically, and he punched the atmosphere in its direction. However, he also progressively disappeared in the lights, and then vanished entirely. A world. The other one's face stiffened. The old man of the world clan had already created his own world, and he had brought his companion there. Only a cultivator stronger than him could escape from his world, otherwise he would be stuck inside. In his world, it won't be possible to find him. Attacking people inside from outside it is impossible too, thought the crowd. The world clan was mysterious, and many people feared their world strength. Unless a cultivator was extremely strong, fighting against people from the world clan was extremely dangerous. It was impossible to predict whether their enemies could come out of their worlds alive. After a long time, cyan world lights exploded out and 2 silhouettes appeared. One was the old man of the world clan, and the other one was the Saint Emperor who had been captured. The Saint Emperor of the Ying clan was soaked with blood, and his face was deathly pale at that moment. That world clansman's chi was also flowing chaotically around him. I broke his world strength. He won't be able to condense worlds for a while. Capture Lin Feng, gasped the strong cultivator of the Ying clan. As he finished saying that, he coughed up blood. He was badly injured. Lin Feng also appeared behind the strong cultivator of the world clan. He was still surrounded by world lights. He looked at the fighters icily. He was moved by the fact these people wanted to protect him. More and more people from the 4 ancient holy clans are arriving. The result of the battle could be tragic, thought Lin Feng. He felt powerless in this battle. He couldn't get involved. He couldn't help, even though everything had started because of him. Capture Lin Feng, shouted someone furiously. Capture Lin Feng, shouted another one explosively. Many people flew towards Lin Feng while condensing chi. 4 more Saint Emperors. Lin Feng is doomed, thought the crowd. The 4 Saint Emperors still had the advantage. They were from the Holy City, the World Clan, and the Animal World were from abroad. Humph! The old man of the Animal World grunted and glanced at Lin Feng. He didn't look worried. The Saint Emperors raced towards Lin Feng while releasing chi. Lin Feng was instantly surrounded by cyan lights. However, at that moment another terrifying strength rose up. The Saint Emperors raised their heads and saw 9 dazzling lights condense. They could barely open their eyes. They gazed into the distance, and their expression gradually changed. What a terrifying oppressive strength, gasped the shaken crowd. 9 millstones appeared, and an aggressive-looking person with them. Suddenly, everyone was looking at him as if nobody else were there. Chapter 1987. drinking alcohol and killing people. What a strange person, thought the crowd. Many people raised their heads to stare at him. The newcomer looked dignified and majestic. His hair was messy, his eyes looked terrifying. He also had a massive alcohol gourd in his hands. He raised the gourd and drank it with a loud gurgle. "How good," said that person indifferently. He glanced at the crowd and said, "So many old dudes are bullying a little boy?" Then he took another sip. "Who are you, Your Excellency?" asked the Saint Emperor of the Ji clan. This person was enigmatic and unfathomable. Where was this person from? Was he here to protect Lin Feng? It's getting more and more interesting. Another extremely strong cultivator. Even Saint Emperors talked to him respectfully, thought the crowd. Another change in the battle. Sages are solitary. Alcohol is my only friend, and has been on my side throughout the ages since antiquity, muttered that person hoarsely to the Saint Emperor of the Ji clan disdainfully. Lin Feng looked at him, his heart pounding. A sage? A holy king? We're not here to drink though, so please go away, said the Saint Emperor from the Ji clan coldly. The man tilted his head to put his hair aside. He smiled evilly and said, "Why would I drink anywhere else? Who do you think you are?" The expression of the Saint Emperor of the Ji clan changed quickly. He didn't know who this person was. He had to be careful not to offend him. He jumped away, waving his hands. A cyan dragon appeared and roared in a thundering rage, threatening to collapse the world. A terrifying oppressive strength filled the air with a dry hum. The eyes of the man in the sky twinkled in multicolor. He opened his mouth and spat, the smell of alcohol suddenly turning up for miles around. His spit turned into fire and rained down on the cyan dragon. It immediately started burning and disappeared like a mirage. "Try again," said the man arrogantly. He sounded aggressive and crazy. After seeing a man like that, it was difficult to forget him. How strong. He spat out his drink and killed the dragon. An onlooker murmured, "How fearsome." The Saint Emperor of the Ji clan was furious. He was a Saint Emperor, and there were 3 Saint Emperors with him. And this man dared make fun of him. "What is happening here has nothing to do with you, Your Excellency. If you leave, I won't attack you." The Saint Emperor of the Ji clan didn't want to offend a strong cultivator he didn't know. There were so many powerful groups in the holy city, and he had never heard of such a cultivator here. "Don't touch him again," said that person, pointing at Lin Feng. Everyone frowned in shock. Those Saint Emperor's eyes glittered. One of them grunted icily and said, "Your Excellency, you're a bit arrogant. We will take him with us, whether you agree or not. Now leave. No matter who you are, you can't get involved in the affairs of the ancient holy clans of the holy city." The Saint Emperors all showed their discontent. Saint Emperors were already almost at the top of cultivation, and were all very rare. There was almost nobody above them in terms of strength. Ancient holy clans were extremely powerful. Who dared humiliate them? Especially a nobody. The newcomer drank more alcohol. He took sips greedily, voraciously, and laughed like a madman. "Who wants to try and touch him? Insolent. How arrogant. I'll try." The Saint Emperor of the Ji clan charged at Lin Feng, dang, chi rolling in the air. He stretched his hands out towards Lin Feng. The strong cultivator was still drinking in the sky, as if it had nothing to do with him. And then the newcomer looked at the Saint Emperor of the Ji clan, opened his mouth and spat out alcohol again. His breath smelled really bad, even as it turned into dazzling sharp swords. "Destroy!" shouted the Saint Emperor of the Ji clan, shifting position invisibly fast. "Alcohol can pierce through internal organs," said the stranger, throwing out drops of alcohol, which turned into sharp swords filled with a destructive strength, towards the Ji Saint Emperor. The Saint Emperor's face froze. How could a drunkard achieve enlightenment? "Dao intent!" shouted that person. His voice, which sounded ordinary, made the air shake violently. Then he spat out more alcohol, forming golden energies which turned into a golden cage, and sealed the area. "How strong! Who's that? Is he an ancestor?" wondered many onlookers. People's hearts were pounding. This new cultivator was extremely strong. His alcohol could turn into energy and destroy people. At that moment, the strong cultivator spat a 3rd time, each drop of alcohol turning into turquoise lights and emitting shattering sounds. Lin Feng wasn't far away, and could clearly see the battle. This drunkard was incredible and fearless. The Saint Emperor of the G clan rose up in the air and released dragons at the same time in 2 lines of energy. Die! Shouted the strong cultivator of the G clan. He released a fist filled with ancient energies. A million punches hurtled out. I told you not to touch him, said the drunkard indifferently. He ignored the attacks of the G clan's cultivator, opened his mouth and drank more, then spat it out. It turned into a curtain which destroyed the millions of fist lights. He then started moving forwards lightning fast, and at the same time, an armor made of light appeared all around his body. He looked stronger than a mountain, more dazzling than stars. He didn't even fear a Saint Emperor. Who is he? The ancestor of the G clan was astonished and suddenly scared. He doesn't fear Dao strength. The emperor of the Ying clan was astonished too, his face stiff with confusion. At that moment, everybody stopped fighting and looked over at him. He's a peerless cultivator. Far away, the onlookers were frozen. It was like time had stopped. The Saint Emperor of the G clan looked like a little and terrified kid right now. Even the cultivators of the World clan were amazed. For them, helping Lin Feng was an opportunity to show the world how strong they were after so many years of hiding. But now nobody was paying attention to them anymore. According to legends, when you become a top-level Saint Emperor, it's still not the top of cultivation. There are more levels above. Such people transcend worldliness and attain holiness. They break from the great Tao. Tao's strength is useless against them. They fear nobody, muttered some people in the crowd. That cultivator definitely didn't fear Tao power. I lift my cup of liquor to heaven and the stars and drink it, sighed the drunkard. He was sighing because of the Saint Emperor of the G clan. More stars appeared around him, dazzling and unbreakable. He really looked like a peerless cultivator. You engage in a battle of words, I kill Saint Emperors. The crowd was shaken. When had such a cultivator appeared in the holy city before? He had broken free from the great Tao. Chapter 1988. Fall of a Saint Emperor, how insane. Who is he? Everybody was wondering aloud. A peerless cultivator. What was a peerless cultivator? Was he a god? Lin Feng didn't understand why the drunkard was helping him. Was he a peerless cultivator? A Saint Emperor was terrified in front of him. The man was drinking and laughing and nobody could stop him. The Saint Emperor of the G clan still looked terrified. The peerless cultivator's stars were more dazzling than the sun. He didn't fear the G clan's destructive Tao, and his stars looked indestructible. Arg! The Saint Emperor shouted furiously. He wanted to run away desperately. However, the man drank another sip of alcohol and spat it out. It turned into a galaxy and sealed the area, so the Saint Emperor couldn't escape anymore. Piss off! Shouted the Saint Emperor of the G clan, raising his hands to attack the stars. He couldn't destroy them, but he could make them move aside at least. The drunkard took another sip and spat it out, his breath turning into lightning, while the atmosphere became dark like during a storm. Ah! The Saint Emperor gave a horrible shriek. A bolt struck his arm. He wanted to escape, but a shooting star smashed into him. He felt incredible pressure as he suddenly coughed up blood. His face was already deathly pale. He felt so weak. What a tragedy for a Saint Emperor. Oh no! The expression of the ancestor of the G clan changed drastically. He wanted to help, but he realized nobody could save his descendant. Nothing worked against that astonishingly strong drunkard. At that moment, he understood that the late arrival's level was higher than a Saint Emperor. The bright stars surrounded him and smashed down. At that moment the crowd shook violently. On this day, 4 ancient holy clans had surrounded Lin Feng. On this day, Lin Feng had come out freely with ancestors of Champion University and strong cultivators from the animal world, and the World clan had come to help. On this day, a dozen Saint Emperors had started fighting, some to help Lin Feng, some to capture him. On this day, it looked like the end of the world. On this day a Saint Emperor died. Oh no! The strong cultivators of the G clan were devastated. They had just lost a Saint Emperor, the highest level cultivator in the holy city. A Saint Emperor could create an ancient holy clan all on their own. They had almost no rivals. A Saint Emperor could protect a clan. Without Saint Emperors, ancient holy clans couldn't ensure their own safety, and they just became ordinary ancient clans. However, at that moment, a Saint Emperor from the Ji clan had been killed in front of everyone. Phew! People took deep breaths to cover their astonishment. A Saint Emperor had died. Such people could also be killed. That Saint Emperor who had lived for such a long time had been killed because he had come to attack Lin Feng. Everybody was just stunned. Seeing a Saint Emperor getting killed was just too astonishing. However, the Peerless cultivator didn't pay attention to people's reactions. He continued drinking and burping loudly. "What a good drink," said the cultivator casually. He looked at the corpse and said calmly, "Unruly little kid. I wouldn't have killed you if you had listened to me, because you were a weakling. But you didn't listen, so I had to punish you. Anyone want to join him?" Everybody remained silent, even the Saint Emperors, not daring to attack. Everybody was just staring at the drunkard, who was also a Peerless cultivator. Finally, Ji Dang Tian moved forwards. He didn't try to offend the man, instead bowing and asking, "Ji clan, may I ask you your name?" Everybody knew that the Ji clan wasn't strong enough to get their revenge, so they couldn't offend the man. They had to be polite. "The Ji clan wants to take revenge?" replied the man, smiling amiably. He looked detached from worldly affairs. "We would never dare," replied Ji Dang Tian. "You're a Saint Emperor and you wouldn't dare?" "Chicken," responded the man indifferently. Ji Dang Tian raised his head and said, "I'm not strong enough. I will tell the clan about what happened today. If you want to attack my clan, I can't do much. If you want to get your revenge, I'll destroy you all." "I don't fear you," said the man, taking a few more sips before adding, "I'm just an insane drunkard from an ancient city, Shiju Lao Xian." "An insane drunkard, Shiju Lao Xian?" Ji Dang Tian was stupefied, his eyes glittered. "Master, you're Shiju Lao Xian from the vast celestial ancient city?" "I'm just a drunkard, that's all," said Shiju Lao Xian, smiling casually. Those watching were stunned. So it was him. He used to be famous in the Dark Knight region. He was crazy. He wasn't a Saint Emperor anymore. He had leveled up. Shiju Lao Xian. Lin Feng was astonished. He had heard that name in the vast celestial ancient city, but hadn't thought he'd ever meet him. The members of the World Clan were stunned. They also knew about Shiju Lao Xian, but they hadn't known he had leveled up. Now, if he started a clan, it would become terrifying quickly. He would become the symbol of his clan. "I will remember, master," said Ji Dang Tian neutrally. The members of the Ying clan, the Yuan clan, and the Pei clan remained silent. What could they say or do anyway? If they fought, they'd die. They all looked at Lin Feng and sighed. 4 ancient holy clans wanted to capture Lin Feng, and Shiju Lao Xian had changed everything. Lin Feng was backed up by the animal world, the World Clan, Champion University, Shiju Lao Xian, and who else? "I don't care about you. I'll just warn you though, it won't be that polite next time," said Shiju Lao Xian, drinking and glancing at the crowd aggressively. He still looked undeterred and relaxed. Nobody would dare go against him. He was so strong he feared nobody. "I will leave an imprint on Lin Feng's body. If the ancient holy clans send great emperors to fight against him, I won't be polite. What if he provokes us on purpose? We can't kill him either? If he provokes great emperors, it's his problem, the person can strike back. Of course, if he provokes emperors of your clans and kills them, then it means your emperors are powerless," said Shiju Lao Xian calmly. "So our people can kill him?" Shiju Lao Xian smiled and said, "You can. And someday, when he becomes a great emperor, you can also send celestial emperors to fight against him, but not saint emperors." Lin Feng's heart twitched. If he became a great emperor, they could send celestial emperors to fight against him? "I hope you'll keep your promise, master," Ji Dang Tian said calmly. The ancient holy clans were convinced they'd find a way to kill Lin Feng. Lin Feng was strong, but he was just a medium-level emperor. They had many geniuses. If they didn't manage to capture Lin Feng, it would mean they were bad cultivators indeed. "Shiju Lao Xian is cruel. I thought he'd protect Lin Feng, and wouldn't allow the 4 ancient holy clans to attack Lin Feng ever again," muttered someone in the distance. "That would be boring. Lin Feng needs to progress. Shiju Lao Xian is doing that to help him, but he also wants to put him under pressure." Lin Feng is only a medium-level emperor. When Lin Feng becomes a great emperor, those clans will be able to send celestial emperors to fight against him. That will make him want to become stronger faster. I wonder where he knows Lin Feng from. People were talking, all of them wondering why Shizhu Laoxian had protected Lin Feng. Chapter 1989. The End? Don't worry. I will not break my promise, replied Shizhu Laoxian. Then he waved aggressively and said, Everybody leave, don't disturb a drunkard when he's drinking. Goodbye, master, Jidang Tian said immediately, turning around and leaving. All the strong cultivators of the Ji clan looked furious as they left. The crowd was still stunned. 4 ancient holy clans had tried to capture Lin Feng, and they had failed. A saint emperor from the Ji clan had even died. Amazing! The Ying clan, the Pei clan, and the Yuan clan were furious, but they couldn't do or say anything. They felt like trash. Lin Feng looked at him and bowed. I didn't die. Thank you very much, master. I will never forget what you did for me. Shizhu Laoxian smiled at Lin Feng indifferently. I've heard that you could control 10 different sorts of abstruse energies, and that you had been abandoned by the gods. Indeed, master, said Lin Feng, nodding and staring at the old man. Qing Feng has told me about you. You're 3rd in the imperial ranking list, even though you're only a medium-level emperor. That's rare. The old men of the animal clan like you very much too, Shizhu Laoxian went on. Lin Feng was stupefied. Qing Feng and the old men of the animal world knew Shizhu Laoxian? Qing Feng, little girl, come here, said Shizhu Laoxian, gazing into the distance. Qing Feng came over and said to the man, Teacher. Teacher. Lin Feng was completely astonished and looked at Qing Feng meaningfully. So Qing Feng had asked Shizhu Laoxian for help? Lin Feng knew that Qing Feng had an extraordinary body. She was the same as him. She also understood 10 sorts of abstruse energies. She certainly had a terrifying teacher. I've done what I promised. Do you intend to continue studying at university? Shizhu Laoxian asked Qing Feng. Qing Feng looked at the old men of the animal world, and then at Lin Feng. Then she looked at Shizhu Laoxian and said, I want to come with you, teacher. Good, we can travel for a while, nodded Shizhu Laoxian. He looked at the elder of the animal world and said, I'm taking her. You don't mind, right? You can travel with her for a while. The old man of the animal world agreed promptly. All right, Shizhu Laoxian nodded. Then he looked at Lin Feng and said, Little boy, continue to practice cultivation. Maybe we'll meet again someday. Dazzling lights appeared around Lin Feng, and an imprint was left on his body. That way, the ancient holy clans couldn't attack him anymore. I was a solitary drunkard, but now I have a disciple. I won't feel as lonely, said Shizhu Laoxian, downing his bottle before he left with Qing Feng. Qing Feng, thank you, shouted Lin Feng to Qing Feng. Qing Feng turned around and gave him a resplendent smile. She was so beautiful. However, her smile quickly disappeared into the horizon. Shizhu Laoxian was too fast. At that kind of level, you can appear anywhere. In normal circumstances, people never see you, murmured the crowd. Saint emperors were already rare, but Shizhu Laoxian was even stronger. Let's go. The people sighed and left. Nobody would dare kidnap Lin Feng anymore. The old man of the animal world came up to Lin Feng and grinned. Lin Feng, back then in the vast celestial ancient city, the gods had abandoned you, and you couldn't break through to the Huangqi layer. Now, you're the 3rd cultivator on the imperial ranking list. I'm sure a bright future is awaiting you. Maybe someday you'll be as strong as him. Keep it up. I understand. Thank you for coming from the vast celestial ancient city to help me, smiled Lin Feng. It's nothing. The ancient holy clans are shameless. They dared send saint emperors to kidnap you and steal the celestial evolution holy scriptures. Just shameless, said the old man lightly. We're off. When you have time, come to the animal world. The cultivators of the animal world left, but they didn't take Wu and Swan with them. They just told them to continue becoming stronger. It was good for them to stay with Lin Feng. Lang Yi, an old man of the World Clan, called out. The old man said, Lang Yi, back then, you were at the same level as Lin Feng. Now, Lin Feng is 3rd on the imperial ranking list. You have the World King body, You should make more effort and study harder. I understand. Lang Yi nodded helplessly. Lang Yi wasn't a slow cultivator, but Lin Feng's cultivation speed was terrifying. They didn't regret that they had met Lin Feng and Meng Qing back then. Lin Feng was a bit faster than Lang Yi. He could defeat high-level emperors. If you know it's good, with your special body, you can also become like Shizhu Lao Xian someday, said the old man, clapping Lang Yi's shoulder. Definitely, agreed Lang Yi. Lang Yi felt even more motivated. Shizhu Lao Xian was just too astonishing, like a king of the world. Lang Yi had a king-type body from the World Clan, and the potential to someday become like Shizhu Lao Xian. Shizhu Lao Xian was like a king, and he treated everybody else the same, ordinary people and saint emperors. The members of the World Clan departed. However, the onlookers didn't leave. They wanted to see more. They were still a little stunned. After a while, the atmosphere calmed down. But was it really over? Maybe another battle was going to start? Lin Feng, are you going back to university? Ancestor Xian Tian and Ancestor Shi Tian asked him. They hadn't thought that Lin Feng knew so many people. He was indeed very talented. Even if Champion University hadn't taken him as a student, many other people would have. Ancestor Xian Tian and Ancestor Shi Tian were furious at Ancestor Zhu Tian. Luckily, they had noticed Lin Feng and taken him as a student. Otherwise, they wouldn't have forgiven him. However, Lin Feng shook his head. Go back to the university? Of course not. What do you want to do? Asked Ancestor Shi Tian. Was Lin Feng angry at Champion University? After all, they hadn't used their full strength to protect him. To steal my celestial evolution holy scriptures, the Ji clan, the Ying clan, the Pei clan, and the Yuan clan will dispatch many people to fight against me all the time. I can't protect myself against saint emperors. Luckily, you and some other people helped and I am very grateful. But I can't let the 4 ancient holy clans bully me all the time, said Lin Feng calmly. I will never forget that you helped me, but this is not over. The ancestors were surprised. Ancestor Shi Tian said, What do you want to do, Lin Feng? I want to go to the Ji clan, said Lin Feng emotionlessly. As long as great emperors don't attack, nobody can defeat me in the Ji clan. What an incredible guy, thought the rather dumbstruck crowd. Lin Feng surprisingly wanted to go to the Ji clan. He was crazy. A medium-level emperor wanted to go to an ancient holy clan to get his revenge. Ancestor Shi Tian's eyes twinkled and he said, Lin Feng, even though you're the 3rd on the imperial ranking list, ancient holy clans have many other extremely strong cultivators. You can go, but please be very careful. I understand. Lin Feng acknowledged the 2 ancestors. I'm off. He took out his boat and flew away towards the Ji clan. The crowd left was astonished and shaken. Let's go to the Ji clan and see what Lin Feng will do. I wouldn't have thought he would take measures this quickly. Silhouettes flickered, and a lot of people followed after Lin Feng. Chapter 1990. Massacre in the Ji clan. Jidang Tian was gazing into the distance. The disciples of the Ji clan raised their heads. A saint emperor died today. None of you can forget this humiliation, said Jidang Tian somberly. He was furious, and was talking loud enough for everyone to hear him. You all know that ancient holy clans, especially us, have existed for millennia, and we've never been humiliated by other people. We've always humiliated others. However, today one of our saint emperors died. You understand that even saint emperors can't do anything against peerless cultivators? I hope that someday, we'll also have a peerless cultivator. The young people of the Ji clan felt even more motivated and determined. It was already impossible to find a peerless cultivator in the holy city. Alone, Shizhu Lao Xian could destroy all the ancient holy clans. He was a true peerless cultivator. Anyway, keep in mind what I've said, said Jidang Tian. He flickered away and disappeared. How could they forget about such a cultivator's death? And it all happened because of a medium-level emperor, Lin Feng. Lin Feng had humiliated many people of the Ji clan. Because of him, Ji Wuya was blind. He had provoked Ji Chang on the day of his champion ceremony. Now a saint emperor of their clan had died because of Lin Feng. How could they forgive him? They hated him more than anything. And now they couldn't do much against him anymore. Great emperors weren't allowed to fight against him. The Ji clan calmed down. People went back to what they were doing. At that moment, outside of the Ji clan, a silhouette appeared and glanced around at their territory. It was spectacular, but he wasn't there to admire the architecture of their buildings. He was furious. To the Ji clan, Lin Feng had humiliated them. But what about Lin Feng? Ji Cheng's club had humiliated Tiantai. Ji Qingsong had threatened him. Their saint emperors had tried to capture him. For a medium-level emperor, it was a terrifying pressure. Lin Feng also hated the Ji clan. He wanted to destroy them right back. Outside of the Ji clan, some people passed and saw Lin Feng. When they saw him, they frowned. Lin Feng. A few emperors and younger people came out and looked at him icily. Surprisingly, Lin Feng had come to them. Lin Feng, you dared come to the Ji clan? Swore a high-level emperor, pointing at Lin Feng furiously. Their holy emperor had died because of him. Lin Feng glanced at them coldly with his death eyes, and made them shudder with dread. Lin Feng blurred into motion, and threw himself at that young man. He was extremely fast. At the same time, Lin Feng's eyes were filled with terrifying death lights. Ah! The high-level emperor gave a horrible shriek. The death strength pierced through his brain, and made his soul shake violently. Lin Feng landed in front of him, and raised his fist at the same time, the air whistling at his passage. Lin Feng's physical strength was terrifying. He punched the Ji clansman's head. It exploded, and Lin Feng continued flying towards the Ji clan. The two young men of the Ji clan were stupefied. What had just happened? Lin Feng had come to the Ji clan to kill people? Had they really seen that? An emperor had come alone to kill people on their own territory? Was he insane? That sounded too ridiculous. But it was a fact. Lin Feng was really doing this. Lin Feng glanced around, his eyes filled with death strength, and eating away people's lives. A terrifying death chi filled the air. Some people's faces became gray. They looked like corpses. They only truly realized what was going on when Lin Feng got close to them. They weren't dreaming. Lin Feng was really killing them in their own territory. Die! A funeral bell rang in their heads. They gave up and died. Corpses fell one after the other. There was an explosion. The people looked at Lin Feng in fury, and started releasing their energies. Lin Feng, you bastard! You want to die, they swore. Many strong cultivators came over when they heard that. They noticed 3 emperors dead on the ground, and pulled long faces. Lin Feng dared kill people on their territory? Those people were emperors. Most ancient holy clans had mainly emperors. There were fewer people at higher levels. Only those whose cultivation was stable went traveling. Great emperors could travel anywhere, because people considered you really strong only after having becoming a great emperor. Lin Feng glanced at the crowd with his death eyes. Everybody sensed death intent invade their eyes and brains. Not many emperors controlled Dao strength, so they couldn't resist Lin Feng. In the air, some sword energies emitted whistling sounds. Everybody sensed the fearsome energies of the Nihility swords. They released their soul strength. Most of them had cyan dragon spirits which were sent attacking Lin Feng. Die! Shouted someone explosively. Lin Feng sensed some oppressive strength. All those dragons were roaring furiously. Lin Feng jumped high up in the air. A crater appeared behind him. The strong cultivators of the Ji clan sensed earth's strength oppressed them. Lin Feng raised his hand, and countless ancient imprints appeared. The ground beneath him burst into 1,000,000 pieces explosively. Dazzling golden lights appeared under his feet, and he disappeared, then reappeared in front of all those strong cultivators. He made a cutting motion, and a river made of death energies appeared behind his hand. The strong cultivators around him were overwhelmed. Lin Feng's Dao power could easily kill them. Die! Shouted Lin Feng explosively. His voice contained demon-cursing energies which invaded their brains. Another Nihility death sword appeared, and many other death sword lights at the same time. Back! Go back to the buildings! Shouted a strong cultivator of the Ji clan, who knew how strong Lin Feng was. They stood no chance against him. However, they weren't fast enough. Lin Feng released empty space, and wind cosmic energies around himself. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of them, and looking at them with his death eyes. He also released Ancient World of the Living Imprints. The air exploded and crackled as a few more people died. "Insolent!" shouted someone defiantly in the distance. A terrifying great emperor arrived and released energies. But Lin Feng ignored him and continued killing people who died one after the other. They didn't even have time to give shriek. Lin Feng continued, jumping and landing in front of someone else, and looking at him with his death eyes. The man died instantly, joining the other corpses everywhere. Lin Feng raised his head calmly and said indifferently, "Will you dare touch me?" That cultivator had started stretching out his hand to attack Lin Feng. But when he heard those words, he took his arm back. He shouted furiously and smashed the ground. Dust rose up from the explosion and spread in the air. He was furious as he shouted, "Lin Feng, you're insolent." "I'm insolent? What about 4 Saint Emperors attacking a weak cultivator like me? They even waited outside Champion University for me," replied Lin Feng coldly. He continued releasing death intent all around. Chapter 1991. All the emperors. The great emperor of the Ji clan was standing there, a cold wind blowing across him. More people appeared at his sides and looked at the corpses on the ground. They didn't look too nervous. "I admire your courage. You dare kill members of the Ji clan in our own territory," the great emperor said to Lin Feng. He looked at Lin Feng in admiration. Back then, 4 ancient holy clans had joined hands to go and surround Champion University. But he admired Lin Feng for coming. He was just a medium-level emperor after all. When Lin Feng heard him, he remained expressionless, his eyes all black. He said calmly, "Even if 4 ancient holy clans want to bully me in Champion University, I don't care. I'm just a medium-level emperor. But I'm here. I don't feel pressured." "Alright, even if you die here, Shiju Laoxian won't say anything," said the great emperor indifferently. They all retreated to some buildings at the same time. Lin Feng stood outside and sat down cross-legged. The members of the Ji clan looked at Lin Feng icily, but didn't do anything to him. In a palace nearby, Ji Dangtian shuddered with fury when he heard about what was going on. He raised his hands and shouted, "Kill!" They wanted the celestial evolution holy scriptures, but they couldn't capture Lin Feng because of Shiju Laoxian, so they could just kill him. At that moment the silence was broken. Many strong cultivators came out of small worlds all over the Ji clan. They came to kill Lin Feng. Less than an hour later, on the battle stage of the Ji clan, many people had gathered, including more than 100 emperors. They were all high-level emperors. Some of them were even at the very, very top of the high-level Huangqi layer. Ancient holy clans were extremely old and often had more cultivators than some countries. They grew in strength thanks to their young cultivators, who kept growing stronger and stronger. With time, they had more and more great emperors, then celestial emperor, and then saint emperors. Of course, saint emperors were still extremely rare. "You know what you have to do?" said Ji Yuan at that moment to the crowd. "Kill Lin Feng." Everybody replied icily. A terrifying chi rose up into the air. "Indeed, kill Lin Feng. However, you have to remember that it's nothing majestic. On the contrary, it's a humiliation. We're an ancient holy clan, and he's at the gate of our clan, and he killed some of our people. We need too many people to kill him. Is this not a humiliation?" said Ji Yuan looking glum. Many people remained silent. Indeed, it was a humiliation. An ancient holy clan sending so many emperors to kill a single medium-level emperor. We keep getting humiliated. So remember, today kill Lin Feng to partly regain our reputation, said Ji Yuan angrily. "Kill!" shouted the emperors in unison. The earth and sky shook as they shouted. They all rose up into the air starting to rumble as a cloud of chi appeared. Were they going to regain their reputation by killing Lin Feng? Lin Feng was seated cross-legged outside of the Ji clan. He felt an ocean of chi rolling in the distance. A strong wind started to blow. Boom boom. Lin Feng was startled. He took a deep breath and opened his eyes. His eyes were still filled with death energies. He didn't look worried, however. Ancestor Shurtian had told him that the Ji clan was terrifying, but there were some things which were unavoidable. Among the people of the Huangqi layer, who could kill him? They're here. The watching crowd in the distance saw the small army coming for Lin Feng. The huge crowd had followed Lin Feng to watch him battle against the cultivators of the Ji clan. What a terrifying army. Even a great emperor would have to be vigilant. It's definitely an ancient holy clan. In less than an hour, they managed to gather so many high-level emperors. Their chi is terrifying. The Ji clan is really furious. They sent such a huge army. They don't want the celestial evolution holy scriptures this time. They want to kill him. When the crowd saw all those strong cultivators in the distance, they withdrew even further. They were quite a distance away, but still had the impression they were too close because the chi was already oppressing them. Lin Feng was crazy. He had offended a whole ancient holy clan, and now he was on their territory. Was he going to die? When all the emperors landed in front of Lin Feng, the atmosphere they brought with them was very oppressive. He had the impression a mountain had fallen onto his back. But he just glanced at them with his death eyes. Some great emperors were there. One of them looked at Lin Feng and said, "Lin Feng, Shiju Lao Xian said great emperors couldn't fight against you. We can't help but listen to him. However, we wouldn't have thought you'd take the initiative to come here and provoke us. Since it's that way, you're going to die here. Everybody together." Indeed, Shiju Lao Xian will do what he said. He won't kill you if you abide by the rules. If you kill me today, he will have nothing to say. However, if all those emperors fail and I kill them all, how will the members of the Ji clan be able to walk in the holy city without feeling ashamed? Said Lin Feng. He perfectly understood what that guy meant. He was afraid that Shiju Lao Xian would avenge Lin Feng's death, even if no great emperor got involved. You think you can survive? The great emperor smiled coldly. Everybody left their great imperial weapons in the Ji clan, so we won't violate Shiju Lao Xian's rules. However, if you use great imperial weapons, you will die and nobody will be able to save you. Then, he slowly rose up into the air. Today he wanted to watch Lin Feng die. A strong wind made of cosmic energies started blowing around Lin Feng. A deployment spell appeared inside. Lin Feng had never fought against so many emperors at the same time. It was terrifying to think of. "Kill," said the great emperor in the sky. The sky began to whistle. "Die! Die!" shouted the furious 100 emperors in unison. Qi started surging and oppressing Lin Feng to the extent that he was pushed backwards. He had the sensation his chest was going to be crushed, and he grunted with pain. "They will not let him off," thought the crowd when they heard the whistling Qi. Some people's faces turned deathly pale, as if they were about to die. Dazzling cyan dragon totems appeared everywhere in the air. The members of the Ji clan inherited the cyan dragon spirit. Many young people had inherited their spirit from great emperors. In the Ji clan, to transmit the best quality blood, people usually waited until they were great emperors to have children. That way, their blood strength and spirit remained perfect, and were passed down to their heirs. A gigantic cyan dragon appeared, 10,000 meters long, roaring furiously and brandishing its claws. Lin Feng was driven backwards and coughed up blood. He kept releasing life strength in grim intent. When he stopped being forced backwards, he ran forwards again. "You want to die," proclaimed the great emperor in the sky, smiling coldly. The crowd's hearts kept pounding. Lin Feng was insane. So many emperors were attacking him. If they hadn't moved back first, they would all have been killed. Lin Feng released demon energies, a demon king appearing behind him. He looked arrogant and fearless. Lin Feng didn't flinch at what he had to do. He was a demon. He wanted to destroy the earth and sky. Demon Qi rotated around Lin Feng madly. His entire body went pitch black. His demon intent rose to the skies and oppressed the Ji clan's energies. The emperors grunted coldly. They released even more dragon energies. More dragons appeared. It was like heaven and earth were about to collapse. Lin Feng's demon king roared furiously. How could a demon king be a weakling? A terrifying strength crashed onto Lin Feng's demon intent. His clothes were torn apart. He was being attacked by 100 people at the same time, and was driven backwards 10 meters. His face was covered with blood, but he started moving forwards again. People's hearts were pounding in astonishment. That demon was fighting against 100 dragons. Chapter 1992. Powerful Demon Culpa. What a powerful demonic intent. He is just slightly injured, exclaimed the crowd in wonder. All the emperors were condensing strength and attacking Lin Feng at the same time. But he was just slightly injured and remained determined. Lin Feng was a demon cultivator. He had studied the indestructible Devamara scriptures. He could use the explosive demon strength of the earth and sky. He could use demon culpa strength. Devamara culpa strength had cleansed his body. He had demon intent. He would never submit. His explosive demon strength kept dashing to the skies, condensing a demonic cloud. The emperors of the Ji clan looked at him icily. Lin Feng was humiliating them. They had to kill him. How could 100 emperors lose against Lin Feng? Dragon whistles, commanded an icy voice. At the same time, all the emperors started running forwards, their dragons emitting whistling sounds. A terrifying strength condensed as they advanced. It was like 1,000,000 cyan dragons were flying towards Lin Feng at full speed. When their strength crashed onto Lin Feng, he had the impression his bones and soul were going to be crushed. His demon strength emitted whistling sounds and dashed to the skies. Lin Feng rose up into the air and condensed oppressive and explosive Devamara strength. The whole atmosphere became dark. Culpa lights twinkled, shaking earth and sky. What's going on? Devamara culpa strength he broke through. He must have practiced some special skills. He can attract Devamara culpa strength and cleanse his body. His physical strength is incredible. Those watching were all astonished, including the strong cultivators of the Ji clan. Lin Feng was using their strength to temper himself. He wanted to become stronger. In the sky, millions of culpa lights blotted out the sky. The emperors of the Ji clan shivered despite themselves. Lin Feng rose up into the air. He was going to get cleansed by Devamara culpa strength before the real beginning of the battle. Devamara culpa strength kept undulating in the air. Lin Feng was bathing in them as they cleansed his body. Die! A few strong cultivators of the Ji clan charged towards Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng smiled icily. He waved his hands and an endless amount of demon culpa strength emitted crackling sounds. He was calling to him. Come, said Lin Feng, raising his head and looking at the sky. The earth and sky shook violently. Demon lights dashed skywards as crackling sounds kept spreading in the air. Lin Feng sensed that his flesh and soul were shaking violently. He kept growling with pain as his face turned deathly pale. The first wave of demon culpa strength is attacking my flesh and soul? Thought Lin Feng, frowning and looking at the sky. How awesome! Shouted Lin Feng explosively. Demon culpa strength surged. Lin Feng was completely surrounded by demon lights. He was a medium-level emperor, and had been cleansed by demon culpa strength 7 times already. It kept cleansing his body and soul. Lin Feng felt happy and found the whole experience painful yet pleasant. Awesome! Let him die in those demon energies, smiled a strong cultivator of the Ji clan. The emperors ran towards him and released more energies. Lin Feng was being cleansed by demon culpa strength, so it was a great opportunity. When Lin Feng saw that, he started laughing frantically. All right, since you want me to die, come and sense my demon culpa strength, shouted Lin Feng explosively. He started running to meet them while condensing demon culpa strength. Lin Feng then disappeared inside his energies. He shouted furiously, and a demon king appeared in the sky. You want to die? The emperors of the Ji clan condensed all their energies together into the ancient cyan dragon that shook the earth and sky. When so many emperors condensed energies together, it could only be terrifying. Even a great emperor would have flinched there. Lin Feng suddenly accelerated. Deployment lights appeared, surrounding him with empty space energies. The ancient cyan dragon roared furiously. However, at that moment, Lin Feng appeared in the sky above the emperors of the Ji clan. The Devamara culpa strength emitted whistling sounds. The Ji clan's emperors' faces turned deathly pale. Not only were those demon energies attacking Lin Feng, but they were attacking them as well. Die! Shouted a cultivator furiously. They attacked Lin Feng, but at the same time, an endless amount of demon lights illuminated the atmosphere. Rumbles shook the air. Lin Feng coughed up some blood. His soul shook violently, his muscles twitched. Lin Feng raised his head and laughed frantically again. Demon culpa strength can also get furious, right? Come and fight. The emperors of the Ji clan shuddered with dread. When the demon strength bombarded the Ji clan's army, they were all propelled away in different directions. 7 or 8 people had died straight away. Lin Feng's physical strength was incredible, easily at the level of a strength-centered high-level emperor. Even though those Ji clan's emperors were high-level emperors, they were far from being as strong as Lin Feng in terms of physical strength. Lin Feng had studied the indestructible Devamara scriptures. He could be cleansed Devamara strength, and each time he got cleansed by the Devamara strength, he became much stronger. And the indestructible Devamara scriptures were not the only scriptures he had studied. The Ji clan's emperors weren't like Lin Feng. They were not used to being cleansed by Devamara Kulpa strength. When the demon strength bombarded them, without weapons, they couldn't really protect themselves. Many people died immediately, or were badly injured. He's mad, thought the stunned crowd. When the great emperor of the Ji clan saw that happen, his face stiffened in fury. 100 emperors, they had to kill Lin Feng. But now Lin Feng was killing them using demon Kulpa strength. Disperse! Shouted someone explosively. When the emperors of the Ji clan saw that Lin Feng was condensing demon strength like that, they knew they couldn't stay together anymore. They had to separate. With the demon Kulpa strength, I will slaughter them happily today. Lin Feng laughed frantically. Everybody was shaking. Demon Kulpa strength could easily destroy people, but Lin Feng could endure the strongest demon Kulpa strength. He had just coughed up a little bit of blood, but the cultivators of the Ji clan were different. Those on the front line died instantly. Lin Feng's silhouette flickered. He condensed cosmic energies and flew at a group of people, a river made of death energies appearing and flowing towards them. When they fought together, the Ji clan's cultivators had hopes against Lin Feng. But in smaller groups, it was probably too much for them. Where are you going? Asked Lin Feng, catching up with those people who wanted to escape. Lin Feng chopped his hand, and countless death and wind swords appeared. At the same time, demon Kulpa strength continued bombarding people. Lin Feng was being bombarded by the strength too, but he just coughed up blood. For the Ji clan's cultivators, the result was much more tragic, as entire groups died. Woohoo! Lin Feng spat out blood and glanced at the crowd icily. Empty space holy marks appeared under his feet. It seemed he could teleport. Each time he made a step, he appeared in front of someone. Sleep. Dream energy rose up into the air. That person had the sensation he was going to fall asleep for a second, and he did. He would have woken up, but during that second, Lin Feng killed him and flew towards another cultivator. He kept slaughtering people one after another. Very quickly, over 30 people had died. When the 9th wave of demon Kulpa strength descended from the sky, even more people died, and those who hadn't died were badly injured. Cough. One of the great emperors of the Ji clan coughed blood when he saw that, roaring in a thundering rage. Humiliation, humiliation. Lin Feng condensed cosmic energies in his hands and attacked the remaining emperors. War steamroller! Shouted the emperors of the Ji clan. A road appeared, and a gigantic war chariot resembling a steamroller with 2 cyan dragons at the front appeared and shot towards Lin Feng. Destroy! Shouted Lin Feng explosively. He released World of the Living imprints and cosmic energies at the same time, shaking earth and sky. Death swords cut through the air. Those people could die at any time. The Ji clan wants to kill me. I also want to destroy the Ji clan. In the future, whenever I see a member of the Ji clan, I'll kill them, shouted Lin Feng furiously. Then he turned around, jumped onto his boat and left. From then on, if he bumped into emperors from the Ji clan, he'd kill them without exception. Of course, emperors of the Ji clan also wanted to kill him, so it was all about strength. Chapter 1993. Reincarnation. The news that Lin Feng had been to the Ji clan to kill people spread quickly in the holy city. The Yuan Pei and the Ying clans all got ready. Every day, the 3 clans were on tenterhooks. They didn't dare leave the clan, to the extent that the disciples of those clans who were also students at Champion University all left and went back to their clans. However, Lin Feng didn't reappear. He suddenly disappeared. Many people made fun of the four ancient holy clans because back then they had joined hands to fight against Lin Feng. Then they had left with their tails between their legs because Shizhu Laoxian had appeared and threatened them. Now, they didn't even dare travel freely. He Xiao also left the Ying clan. He didn't have any reason to stay there. He didn't want to offend someone who had transcended worldliness and attained holiness because of the Ying clan and the Ji clan. He was done with their business. After those events, the holy city became relatively calm. Many people had disappeared. Lin Feng, Ying Cheng Jicheng, Chu Chunqiu, Dozhan Sung Gili, Xiao Wu Tian didn't reappear either. Some people guessed that Ying Cheng might have left the holy city already. Another likely event was that he might have broken through to the Di Qi layer. If Ying Cheng didn't offend powerful people, he'd become even stronger. Ji Chang had used the mysterious technique of the Ji clan on the Pathfinder day of the Imperial ranking list, and people didn't know whether he had completely recovered or left the holy city. At Ji Chang's cultivation level, 1 year was a short time. Even for ordinary medium-level emperors, 10 years were not long. They didn't become stronger quickly anymore, even if they were talented, unlike when Lin Feng was still in his homeworld. In Lin Feng's homeworld, low-level emperors stayed at that level for thousands of years. Only real geniuses made visible progress in 1 year. During this year, Lin Feng was cleansed by Devamara Culpa strength an 8th time. One more time, and he might become a high-level emperor. After the 8th Devamara Culpa cleansing, Lin Feng also cleansed his Devamara body. His physical strength was so incredible that no high-level emperor could compete with him anymore in that manner. If high-level emperors attacked him using physical strength, they would have no effect at all. Lin Feng also improved his Godly Awareness Palace to improve his soul strength, and had cleansed his soul using Devamara Culpa. In terms of soul strength, he had already surpassed many high-level emperors. In all aspects, Lin Feng was already as strong as a high-level emperor. He just had the cultivation level of a medium-level emperor. Lin Feng returned to Tiantai. 1 year had passed, and Tiantai had become too big. When Lin Feng saw Tiantai's disciples, he noticed how strong they were. Someday, they'd become as strong as an ancient holy clan. Lin Feng was relieved. However, his teachers still hadn't come back. Lin Feng thought that the reason was maybe that his teachers didn't feel like coming to the holy city, as initially his fellow disciples hadn't come either. "How come you failed again, Buddhist monk?" Lin Feng heard someone. He saw a group of people smiling at Tianqi. Tianqi was used to such jokes. He put his palms together and said, "I feel ashamed. I am not smart enough, I guess." Tiantai smiled and said, "You should forget about it. You're not stupid, but it's difficult for anyone. You already failed 5 times, and you're still so persistent." "Tiantai, you're funny. Each time Tianqi comes back, he's much stronger, haven't you noticed?" Qin Wu smiled. At that moment, Tiantai saw Lin Feng come and said, "Lin Feng, Tianqi has been begging the Buddhas for half a year already. Do you think he should go again?" "He can make his own decisions," Lin Feng smiled. "Brother, how many steps did you manage to climb of the 100,000 steps of Buddha Mountain?" Tianqi shook his head and said, "There aren't 99,999 steps. It's just an expression, there's no end. If there were actually 100,000 steps, I'd already be at the top. It's just an expression, a way to say that you must never stop practicing to achieve enlightenment." Lin Feng nodded. "Brother, according to legends, many people try to climb up the Buddha mountain. The record for getting to the top is 3 years. Some people need 10 years, and others 100 years. However, most people who have managed to get to the top haven't become Buddhas. On the contrary, they've become evil demons. Do you really think that there's a peerless ancient Buddha at the top?" "I do believe so. If you go, you'll think so too." Tianqi nodded. Lin Feng was startled. He believed Tianqi, even people from the ancient holy clans of the holy city, didn't dare fly above Buddha mountain. People from the holy city believed that there was a peerless ancient Buddha at the top of Buddha mountain. Maybe that cultivator was like Shizhu Laoxian, a peerless cultivator? "Brother, our second fellow disciple is gone again?" asked Lin Feng. "Wuxia and he are maniacs. It's so rare to see them in Champion University. Last time, after what happened, They left and didn't come back for a while. They probably left the holy city, Tianqi laughed. Indeed, they're both maniacs. Lin Feng agreed, joining in. He knew Ho Qinglin and Wuxia were great cultivators. He remembered back then when they had all gone to Tianlong Divine Castle. Now he understood reincarnation Dao intent, and kept becoming stronger. Ho Qinglin loved traveling and facing dangers. A bright future was awaiting him. Talent wasn't enough to become a peerless cultivator. Courage, determination, and luck were necessary too. I'll go to the Celestial Mountain, Lin Feng smiled. His silhouette flickered, and he was off to the Celestial Mountain where Ancestor Shirtian was. However, at that moment, Ancestor Shirtian wasn't sitting there. Shuebagyo was. At that moment, Shuebagyo was surrounded by celestial qi. She looked like a celestial being. Lin Feng, you're here, said Ancestor Shirtian at that moment. He descended from the sky and landed next to Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at Shuebagyo and said, I understand a few things now. Lin Feng looked surprised. Shuebagyo had always had doubts. Ancestor, what happened to her? Come with me, said Ancestor Shirtian, and then he left with Lin Feng. Lin Feng was surprised. Something strange was going on. After a short time, Ancestor Shirtian and Lin Feng arrived at the top of a snowy peak and sat down cross-legged. Ancestor Shirtian said to Lin Feng, Lin Feng, have you ever heard of cultivation reincarnation? Reincarnation because of bad karma? Lin Feng frowned. Was Shuebagyo going to die and reincarnate because of her bad karma? Nah, it's not that dramatic. Cultivation reincarnation is a powerful skill. Only the 3 Lives scriptures contain such a skill. And nobody knows where the 3 Lives Emperor is, or who he is. Nobody knows how many bodies he has either. Apart from him, some other people have cultivation reincarnation techniques. They can reincarnate using other people's bodies. I think she is the reincarnation of a very strong cultivator, explained Ancestor Shirtian. Lin Feng's face stiffened. Why do you think that? According to what you've told me and what she's told me, she keeps forgetting things after a short time, but her heart is pure. She only cares about cultivation, and now her memory is getting shorter and shorter. There must be a skill stamp in the depths of her soul. Back then, in the continent of the 9 clouds, there was such a book. What book? Selfless scriptures, but few people practiced it. They forget everything and solely focus on cultivation. Not everybody can practice those scripture, however. Each time she forgets things, she remembers new things. For example, what scripture she needs and so on. It was as if her path was already determined for her. But nobody controls her. So there's only one possibility I can think of. She's a terrifying cultivator's reincarnation. Besides, I'm convinced she will soon regain all the memories of her previous life. But first she needs to become a great emperor, otherwise, reincarnating would be pointless, said Ancestor Shirtian. Lin Feng didn't hide his astonishment. Shuebagyo was a strong cultivator's reincarnation. Chapter 1994. Qitian Dynasty. Lin Feng watched Shuebagyo. She looked as calm as a celestial being. Lin Feng's heart beat faster. She was from his homeworld and surprisingly, she was the reincarnation of a strong cultivator. Each time she forgot things about her own life, it was because she remembered things from her previous life. Maybe someday, she would suddenly remember everything from her past life, and would be another person. Besides, she might be the reincarnation of a peerless cultivator, and maybe that she would be able to get back to that level someday. Otherwise, what would be the peerless cultivator's goal in reincarnating? What about her true self, though? Lin Feng sighed as he left. She could practice cultivation calmly in the Celestial Mountains. Never mind. In Champion University, everybody understood that Tiantai's core disciples were all strong. Not just Lin Feng. Ho Qinglin and Lin Feng's wife, Meng Qing, also controlled Dao strength. One controlled reincarnation Dao strength, and the other one ice and frost Dao strength. Jian Meng also controlled light Dao strength. Not many of the students understood Dao strength within Champion University, but most of those who did were from Tiantai. It was definitely the best group in Champion University these days. Of course, Tiantai wasn't as aggressive as Ji Chang's club back in the day. They didn't bully other people, They just focused on cultivation. They also spent a great deal of time in the Edict Palace learning about current affairs. As a result, many people wanted to join Tiantai. There were still the frequent entry exams at the university. Today there was an exam, and many talented people passed the exam and joined Champion University. In Champion Palace, when new students saw Lin Feng's name, they all felt determined. They also wanted their name to be carved there. Higher ranking list, Celestial Champion ranking list, low ranking list. I wonder when I'll be on those lists, thought a daydreaming new student. Look, Brother Lin Feng is the first cultivator on the Celestial Champion ranking list. When he was a medium-level emperor, he provoked Ji Chong. On top of that, on the day of his champion ceremony, 4 ancient holy clans also joined hands to capture him. But they failed, and then he went to the Ji clan to kill their emperors. He's very aggressive and talented, said someone else. You know how strong Lin Feng was. Back then, he was still on the lower ranking list, and suddenly he was on the Celestial Champion ranking list. He's never been on the higher ranking list. He's only a medium-level emperor. Usually you can't be on the highest ranking list when you're a medium-level emperor. But the university made an exception. Brother Lin Feng surpassed Ji Chong. He hasn't been proclaimed a champion yet, but he's already a champion in people's hearts. Do you know what Lin Feng told the ancestor when the ancestor asked him if he wanted to become a champion? Lin Feng said, "When I am at the top of the Huangqi layer, and have no enemy anymore at that level, why would I need to be proclaimed a champion? Even without a crown, I will consider myself as a champion." Phew, arrogant and proud. I wish I could be like that too. Lin Feng is amazing. Look at the 5th cultivator of the Celestial Champion ranking list. Do you know who he is? Lin Feng 1st, Ji Chong 2nd, 3rd Jian Meng, 4th Ho Qing Lin, 5th Meng Qing. Ho Qing Lin is one of Lin Feng's best friends. Meng Qing is Lin Feng's wife. Jian Meng is Lin Feng's friend too. In the top 5, everyone is closely related to Lin Feng, except for Ji Chong. They shouldn't be on the Celestial Champion ranking list, but Champion University made an exception for all of them. Who's stronger between Meng Qing, Jian Meng, and Ho Qing Lin? We will never know. They won't fight against one another. A year ago, they weren't in the same position. Apart from them, 2 other people in Champion University understand Dao strength. After Jian Meng defeated Lu Yan from the Wind clan, he got onto the list. Ho Qing Lin is discreet, but he is becoming more and more famous. Ho Qing Lin isn't weaker than Jian Meng, I think. I don't know when he'll try to become 4th. And Meng Qing is 5th. I don't know why the university decided that, said many young people, staring at the ranking lists. Behind those people, there was a cave with a waterfall at its mouth. A young man was there. He was bathing in the water. He was wearing a golden cape and looked noble. There were many carvings on his ancient robe. When that young man finished looking at the Celestial Champion ranking list, he left the Champion Palace and walked towards the Celestial Mountains of Champion University. He looked free and unrestrained. He walked as if he were extremely familiar with Champion University, but actually he wasn't from Champion University. When the young man arrived just outside the Celestial Mountains, he bowed respectfully and said, "I'm a descendant of the Tianxi dynasty. I came to see the masters of Champion University," he shouted loudly. His voice resonated far, far away. Many people in the celestial palaces came out. "Descendant of Tianxi, please come in," replied someone after a few seconds. The young man then continued forwards. He proceeded to the top of a mountain and bowed before 2 old men. "Greetings, ancestors." "Good, how fast, 100 years. That was extremely quick." Ancestor Xiantian smiled and nodded at the young man. "You've been in the holy city for a few days? You have a mind which perceives both past and future, master." The young man smiled back and nodded. "You've been to Champion Palace, right?" "I have. You know why I came? I came to invite Lin Feng, Jian Meng, Ji Chong, Ho Qing Lin and Meng Qing to come to the dynasty. I hope you can help me." "Alright, stay in the Celestial Mountains for a few days. We'll ask them to come back. If they want to go they can, otherwise we can't force them," said Ancestor Xiantian calmly. "Please tell them why I came," said the young man. bowing before ancestor Xiantian. It was better if the ancestors explained the details themselves. People would trust them more than him. Of course, they didn't need to explain anything to people who had spent a lot of time in the holy city, like Ji Chang. Lin Feng looked at ancestor Xiantian, asking, "Ancestor, what did you call me for?" Lin Feng, the Dark Night region has 18 main cities. The 3 most important ones are in the very center of the region. You know that, right? Holy City, Qitian Holy Town, Tianyuan Ancient City, replied Lin Feng easily. What do you know about Qitian Holy Town? According to legends, Qitian Holy Town is gigantic and boundless. It's a terrifying place. Their dynasties rule over the region. Ages ago, their dynasties were even more fearsome than now. They've lost a great deal of influence. Back then, there used to be one dynasty, but now they've divided. They're not called a dynasty anymore. They're called Qitian Holy Town. But even now, there are dynastical alliances which are extremely strong. They are even older than ancient holy clans or universities, recited Lin Feng slowly. He had never been there, but he had read books about the holy town. He knew a bit about the dynasties and everything. Nowadays, there were several dynasties. You're right. Even today, there are dynasties in Qitian Holy Town. Many of them very old. Some of them have disappeared too. The Qitian dynasty used to be terrifying and gigantic. They used to rule over Dark Night, but they were too big, and ended up divided into several small groups. Ancestor Xiantian told him solemnly. Back in the days, the Qitian dynasty was terrifyingly strong. Now the Qitian Holy Town was all that was left of the former Qitian dynasty. Chapter 1995. Agitation in Dark Night. Lin Feng understood things were not that simple, and realized something was going on. He asked, "Ancestor, you made me come because something is happening in Qitian dynasty?" "Of course," said Ancestor Xiantian, nodding. The Qitian dynasty is now divided into many dynasties. They are all in Qitian Holy Town. They are very mysterious and secretive. Every 100 years, those dynasties invite the most outstanding disciples from the academic establishments of the 18 main cities to go to Qitian Holy Town. "I see, so now it's time. And what is the purpose of this invitation?" asked Lin Feng. Lin Feng understood he was invited. "You're right, it's about time. One of the dynasties, the Tianxi dynasty and Champion University, have always had very good relations. Every 100 years, they come to Champion University to invite our students, and now they're here again. Tianxi dynasty is not the only dynasty to do that. The other dynasties of Qitian Holy Town have also dispatched people to the 18 main cities. Very quickly, the strongest cultivators of the 18 cities will gather in Qitian Holy Town," Ancestor Xiantian informed him. Lin Feng's heart twitched. How incredible! All the strongest cultivators of the region, not only of the holy city. When Lin Feng said nothing, Ancestor Xiantian continued. "This time, someone from Tianxi dynasty would like to invite the top 5 cultivators of the Celestial Champion ranking list. Yu Jichang, Jian Meng, Ho Qinglin and Meng Qing. And why do they do this? It's secret, but according to legends, in antiquity there was a big battle, and all the saints participated in it. They were all astonishingly strong. People from all branches participated. They fought for treasures, of course. The battles were explosive. Some people regretted having participated. Some others didn't because they benefited from it. Some historical remains are also distributed, from what I've heard. Emperors participate, probably because the battles will continue when they're great emperors. After the battles, young people obtain the vestiges of ancestors. Then, they forget about tensions and join together to obtain historical remains. Some people are greedy and decide to fight. They only join together on the day when the access to the historical remains is granted. They all join hands to access the historical remains. But people who enter the ruins and such are terribly violent, and are all killers. Some dynasties fall, some rise. Some people are not determined enough. And some kinds of Tao strength also disappear with time. Some people also need external help," explained Ancestor Xiantian. It was an extremely complex issue. Actually, it was impossible to know what happened there, or even what had happened in antiquity. Everything was secret. But people probably had to join hands at the right time, and then react in case anything happened. Lin Feng could imagine what such an event would be like. Ancestor Shirtian continued. In antiquity, dynasties had good relations with all the influential groups of the Dark Night region. They needed help to excavate historical remains. Since they needed help, they couldn't prevent people from going there with them. So they allowed them to battle once inside. As usual in our world, if you're weak, you get eliminated. If someone kills you, they get vestiges and you don't. Therefore, right now, Qitian Holy Town is calling people from everywhere in the Dark Night region. But only the most outstanding young people, mused Lin Feng. Ancestor Shirtian nodded. It's a win-win relationship. If you are outstanding and accept the risk, you will have the opportunity to see the most outstanding people of the region. It's a rare opportunity. I understand, Ancestor. I will talk to Ho Qing Lin, Jian Meng, and Meng Qing. Lin Feng smiled. He would go without hesitation. This was such a rare opportunity. Maybe they would meet Ji Chang, Chu Chunqiu, Ying Cheng, and some others. How exciting. Don't worry. Ancestor Shirtian laughed. Lin Feng, it could be really dangerous there. The holy city is not the only place where you can see people like Ying Cheng or Chu Chunqiu. You'll probably meet some people who have king-type bodies, and who have reached the very top of the Huangqi layer. And we're just collaborating with the Tianxi dynasty. You're responsible for yourself. I understand, Lin Feng nodded. He knew the benefits and drawbacks of collaborating with other people. Besides, Ji Chang will come with you. Even though you hate him and he hates you, please put that aside. If you fight against one another, you'll both suffer from losses. You are very talented. You'll surpass Ji Chang sooner or later, advised Ancestor Shirtian. Lin Feng nodded calmly. He understood that as well. Ji Chang was a pillar in the Ji clan. All their hopes were on him. Even if Lin Feng could defeat Ji Chang, could he kill him anyway? Defeating and killing were two absolutely different concepts. If Lin Feng had been able to kill Ji Chang, they wouldn't have gambled with Ji Chang's life. Lin Feng didn't know what treasures the Ji clan had given to Ji Chang to protect himself in case of immediate danger. Just like the Ying clan had given precious items to Ying Cheng to protect him. That was why Mr. Xiao couldn't kill him easily. Lin Feng went back to inform Jian Meng and Ho Qing Lin. They were extremely excited. They were going to gather with the most outstanding cultivators of the region. How could they not be excited? The other dynasties went to the other cities to invite people. The news spread very quickly all across the region. Suddenly, the holy city which had calmed down was buzzing and lively again. People from Qitian Holy Town had come to invite people, the most outstanding geniuses of the Dark Night region. Many people started heading to Qitian Holy Town. Of course, the same happened everywhere in the region, in all 18 main cities. Many geniuses in their universities, clans, or sects started leaving. There were also people from terrifying hidden groups. After all, apart from the 18 main cities, there were other terrifying groups, but they were more discreet. On that day, Lin Feng also rose up into the air with the others. They started traveling to Qitian Holy Town. Ji Chang also started traveling, but not with them. Chapter 1996. Imperial Concubine Qitian Holy Town. One of the main 18 cities of the Dark Night region. One of the 3 biggest cities. Lin Feng and the others were on his boat when they arrived in Qitian Holy Town. An ancient qi surrounded the town. The buildings were very old but in perfect shape. In the cultivation world, people fought all the time. So buildings also broke all the time. It was rare to see ancient buildings in perfect shape like in Qitian Holy Town. That's what a dynasty looks like, murmured Lin Feng. Qitian Holy Town was once a dynasty. Even though they had divided later in history, it was still different from other places. The dynasties still ruled over the town. Some sects and ancient holy clans had settled there later on, but they hadn't taken over. It was completely different from the holy city. Dynasties were different from ancient holy clans. Even if they had become small and lost influence, they were still more influential than ancient holy clans or sections. People from dynasties were proud and arrogant. They respected their ancestors, as the dynasties hadn't forgotten about the Qi Tian dynasty, their forebears. They're like countries, dynasties are like countries. Qi Tian Holy Town is almost a region made of several countries. Of course, dynasties are much more incredible than countries, said the young man from the Tianxi dynasty. He had invited Lin Feng and the others, so he also had to come with them. Don't fly when you're in a dynasty. It's a sign of disrespect. You can't even fly above the clouds, said the young man. Lin Feng nodded. It was standard in all the large influences. After a long time, the young man pointed at a building and said to Lin Feng, "That's the Tianxi dynasty. Let's head there." All right, Lin Feng agreed. The Tianxi dynasty had survived the dismantlement of the Qi Tian dynasty. The young man was very proud of it. The Tianxi dynasty was very strict when it came to protection, but nobody prevented Lin Feng and the others from entering. The buildings all had an imposing appearance, and the guards were all emperors. Lin Feng sighed. In his homeworld, emperors could rule over countries and empires, but in the Tianxi dynasty, they were just ordinary guards. Where are we going? Lin Feng asked the envoy. We will go the Holy Imperial Concubines building. The Imperial Concubine will give everybody a welcome dinner, and you can rest for a few days afterwards. When everybody is here, you will see the Holy Sovereign. Also during these days, I will also be awaiting orders. If you want to go and have a walk in Qi Tian Holy Town, I can be your guide too. Even though the envoy looked extremely young, he was very polite and courteous, easy to get along with. He made people feel at ease. Holy Concubine, murmured Lin Feng. The dynasties were different as expected. They were first received by the Holy Concubine. After a short time, the envoy brought Lin Feng and the others to some vast and elegant mansion houses. There were large and high buildings, small bridges above small rivers, green mountains and bamboo forests, waterfalls. It looked like a painting. After a short time, another group of people arrived, the leader of which was a beautiful and vigorous woman. Her lovely eyes kept twinkling. She looked noble and pure. She was very young, and next to her, there were a few people wearing black armor. They looked cruel and violent. The woman glanced at them in a strange way. Then she looked at the envoy and bowed. Prince, are these the people from the holy city? Asked the woman calmly. She sounded gentle and cute, and had a beautiful voice. She sounded and looked just like a princess. Lin Feng, Ho Qing Lin, Jian Meng, and Meng Qing are from Champion University in the Holy City. They are all on the Celestial Champion ranking list. There's another one from the top 10, but he came alone. He must have arrived already, replied the envoy. They're all so young. How incredible. Thank you for coming from so far away, said the woman. Smiling at Lin Feng and the others, she even bowed respectfully. You must be stronger than us, princess. Lin Feng answered with a polite smile. This woman was a high-level emperor. She was gentle and polite, and didn't seem proud and arrogant at all. Women like Yuan Jing couldn't compete with such women. When the princess was a medium-level emperor, she understood Dao intent. Now, she is a high-level emperor, and her Dao intent is incredibly powerful. Of course she's not weaker than you. If she went to Champion University, she'd rank first. She'd crush Jichang, said a young man in armor next to her aggressively. When Lin Feng said she was probably stronger than them, he had the feeling it was false modesty. He also looked at them disdainfully. These days in Champion University, there were 4 people who were medium-level emperors in the top 5. Even if they were talented and understood Dao strength, it meant that Champion University was a bad university. Insolent, said the princess angrily. She turned around and released Qi, which oppressed him. The young man didn't dare look at her and lowered his head. Apologize, said the princess icily. Princess, said the young man, stupefied and raising his head. Apologize, said the princess, extremely angry now. The young man shivered and said, I'm sorry, please forgive me. No harm, said Lin Feng, smiling indifferently. He didn't mind. However, the young man said to him using telepathy, I just apologized because the princess gave me an order. If Jichang doesn't come, Well, maybe the Tianxi dynasty doesn't need champion universities people at all. It's a fact. Lin Feng smiled indifferently and ignored him. However, the princess said to Lin Feng politely, "Lin Feng, please." She glanced at the young man icily. The young man in the armor had not heard about Lin Feng, but the princess had. Lin Feng had defeated Ji Chang on the Pathfinder Day of the Imperial ranking list a year before, and he was third on the Imperial ranking list of the Holy City. Now he was second, since Ying Cheng had become a great emperor. Of course, she knew that Ji Chang was not the first one in the rankings. A medium-level emperor had defeated Ji Chang. A champion, she was amazed. She might not even be able to defeat Lin Feng herself. She also knew that if Lin Feng wanted to kill her guards, it would be easy for him. She hadn't thought Lin Feng would be so kind and considerate. "Please, princess," said Lin Feng, following after her as she led them away. After a short time, they arrived in a room with a floor of jade, where a beautiful woman waiting there smiled thinly at them. Lin Feng's eyes were drawn to her. It was as if he couldn't look anywhere else. The guards next to the princess all lowered their heads. Lin Feng had the sensation nothing else existed around him. He was just staring at that peerlessly beautiful woman. But he quickly came back to his senses. Such women were too powerful. "Welcome, everyone. I hope you had a nice trip," smiled the woman, too attractive for words. Lin Feng and the others bowed before her, and he said, "You must be the imperial concubine." "Yes, no need to adhere strictly to formalities, though. Please come in," said the imperial concubine calmly. Lin Feng sat down to her side, as did everyone else. Chapter 1997. Ancient Historical Remains. Lin Feng. "Even though we're in Qi Tian Holy Town, I know about the Holy City. You're quite famous," the imperial concubine said with a gentle smile. She looked so attractive. Lin Feng was aroused just by looking at her lips. "You're flattering me, imperial concubine," replied Lin Feng, smiling humbly. He tried to remain calm. "Lin Feng, you're a medium-level emperor and you're third on the imperial ranking list. That's not flattery, that's a fact," smiled the imperial concubine. "Lin Feng, whom do you think will reach the highest level in their lives? Ying Cheng, Ji Chang, Chu Chun Xiao Yu, or anyone else?" Lin Feng was startled. What kind of question was that? "How could I talk about other people, imperial concubine?" Lin Feng answered politely. The imperial concubine smiled calmly. "You're right, but I'm sure that if I asked Chu Chun Xiao, Ying Cheng, or Ji Chang, they'd say they would. They all thought they were the strongest. I invited people from Champion University because of you, Lin Feng. My daughter loves you. I hope you can help her out," said the imperial concubine, glancing at the princess tenderly. "Imperial concubine, I will do my best." Lin Feng was surprised. She didn't care about offending Ji Chang by talking that way. The imperial concubine probably knew that Lin Feng, Jian Mang, Ho Qing Lin, and Ming Qing were close. "As a mother, I feel relieved then," said the imperial concubine, standing up and bowing before Lin Feng. Lin Feng hastily stood up and said, "Imperial concubine, you're my elder, you can't bow before me." "I'm a mother, I should," said the imperial concubine, bowing again. She smiled at Lin Feng and said, "Anyway, you must feel awkward to be with me. I won't disturb you. Lin Feng, if you need anything, tell Piao Shui to come and call me." After that she left. Lin Feng was stunned. The imperial concubine was very strange. "Lin Feng, you must take care of me," spoke up the princess, smiling after the imperial concubine left. She looked as beautiful and fresh as a flower. The young man next to her was annoyed. Lin Feng was that strong. Why were the imperial concubine and the princess so polite? He had no idea. A medium-level emperor? Even if he had understood Dao's strength, how strong could he be? Could he compete with people at the top of the Huangqi layer? The princess smiled at Meng Qing and said, "Sister Meng Qing, I hope you don't mind." "How could I?" replied Meng Qing naturally. The princess was really easy to get along with, her manner warm and gentle. During the banquet, they quickly became good friends. After the banquet, Princess Piao Shui brought Lin Feng and the others to their rooms. Lin Feng and the others walked around in the territory of the dynasty. It was ancient, and the landscapes were beautiful. During the days they waited, ever more strong cultivators from the 18 main cities of the Dark Night region arrived. Some people even battled now and then, their fights impressive. The people who came were all geniuses, and they never submitted to others. One of those days, Princess Piao Shui took Lin Feng and his friends out at his request. Lin Feng wanted to walk around Qitian Holy Town. Sister Meng Qing, you won't be disappointed here. There are only 18 main cities in the Dark Night region, but there are many historical remains. I invited you to come to help me, but you can also spend a few years here and enjoy yourself. Princess Piao Shui and Meng Qing had quickly become good friends. Girls talked a lot, so it was easier for two women to make friends. Meng Qing and Piao Shui were even holding hands like sisters. Lin Feng didn't mind. Friends were friends, enemies were enemies. As long as the imperial concubine and Piao Shui didn't try to harm them, Lin Feng didn't mind. Where can you find some famous historical remains in Qitian Holy Town? Asked Meng Qing, curious now. All the sites are under the control of the dynasties. For example, Suffocating Sword Valley. There's a terrifyingly powerful and old intent there which makes people suffocate. People who go there almost always die. Dao Breaking Mountain. It's a mountain where your Dao gets destroyed. You can hear ancient people's voices there apparently. There are many other places. Suffocating Sword Valley, sword intent, suffocate? What a strange name, thought Lin Feng. His eyes glittered. Sister Piao Shui called out someone in the distance. Lin Feng and the others looked over and saw another group of people. There weren't many of them, but their qi was impressive. The leader of the group was a prince from the Tianxi dynasty. He had the same family name as Prince Piao Shui. Brother, are those the geniuses of Goblin Spirit University? They look extraordinary. Princess Piao Shui greeted him. However, the geniuses of Goblin Spirit University looked at Lin Feng coldly. The Tianxi dynasty had good relations with three groups of influence, and they had invited all of them to come. The three groups were Champion University, Goblin Spirit University, and one ancient holy clan. Champion University's geniuses look extraordinary too, the young man smiled. A strong cultivator of Goblin Spirit University walked forwards and shouted, Champion University, who's Lin Feng? He must be here. Lin Feng looked him over. That guy looked strange and wild. His qi was powerful and aggressive. Lin Feng took a step forwards and rose up into the air. As expected, a medium-level emperor. I've heard that you had defeated Ji Chong. I really want to know if you're that strong. Be careful, shouted that guy. So saying, he released a terrifying amount of bestial qi. Lin Feng had the sensation millions of wild beasts were running towards him. Show me your strength first, said that guy, his power bearing down on Lin Feng. Lin Feng flickered away and released demon qi, which shot up into the sky. They started punching one another. Suddenly an explosion rent the air, and a strong wind started blowing. Millions of threads of bestial qi penetrated into Lin Feng's body. Death strength penetrated into his attacker. The bestial qi quickly dispersed. Lin Feng's arm crackled, but his physical strength was astonishing. His opponent looked like a bull, and also had an incredible physical strength. Haha, not bad. A medium-level emperor can surprisingly stop a physical attack from me. No wonder you defeated the champion, said that guy, laughing eagerly, his long black hair bouncing messily around him. Now I'll use 7 layers of strength and Dao strength, be careful, said that cultivator, condensing more physical strength to oppress Lin Feng. Lin Feng had the sensation he was on a field surrounded by millions of strong and heavy bulls. Lin Feng, if you're careless you might lose. He's the champion of Goblin Spirit University. He's been a champion for much longer than Ji Chong, said the princess to Lin Feng telepathically. Lin Feng was surprised. He was confident when it came to his physical strength, but he had never been careless. He was always vigilant. He knew his strengths and weaknesses. His weakness was his cultivation level. His strength was that he knew many things. Naturally, when fighting against people with a higher cultivation level, he had to be more careful. Boom! Lin Feng sensed a strange yet terrifying Dao strength. Lights twinkled all around, and millions of bulls roared in a thundering rage, trying to crush Lin Feng. What's that Dao intent? thought Lin Feng, his face stiff. His opponent's strength was terrifying. Lin Feng cast his celestial stage deployment spell and condensed more strength. World of the living imprints also appeared around him, containing an endless amount of strength. Chapter 1998. Close yet distant, the two attacks collided, and the world of the living imprints immediately broke apart, while the gigantic bulls roared and dispersed progressively. However, Lin Feng sensed a terrifying wild and fierce chi surround him, as the ground under his feet started crackling. Your ancient imprints technique is terrifying. Awesome, you crushed my attack, said the attacker, laughing happily. No wonder you defeated Jichong. You're really strong. You can resist my attacks, you can be proud. Lin Feng looked at the other man. The guy sounded crazy, but he was really strong. Lin Feng in the future will join hands. I hope that before going to the holy place, you'll become even stronger. If you could become a high-level emperor before going, that would be great. Piao Shui will definitely get the most out of it, spoke the prince, smiling at Lin Feng. Even though he sounded polite, Lin Feng still had the sensation the guy was looking down upon him. People from the Tianxi dynasty probably competed within the dynasty. Maybe this young man was competing with Piao Shui. They had invited 3 different groups. So Lin Feng was almost sure that there were 3 different descendants in this generation going. Princess Piao Shui, the young man in front of him, and someone else. The imperial concubine and Princess Piao Shui had decided to cooperate with Champion University, while the young man before him had decided to rope in Goblin Spirit University. Thank you very much, brother. Even if Lin Feng's cultivation level remains that way, Lin Feng can still protect me, said Princess Piao Shui, smiling indifferently. She was being polite. She was very strong and didn't need people to protect her. I think too much sometimes, replied the prince calmly. I've heard that many people were going to the Holy Way stage today, where you can listen to the saints. We're going there now. We'll see how strong all the emperors are. See you. We can go to Holy Way stage today? Asked Piao Shui, surprised. The Holy Spirit dynasty invited everyone in Qitian Holy Town, smiled the prince. He glanced at Lin Feng. It seemed that Piao Shui already had a good impression of Lin Feng after only a few days. Surprisingly, she had forgotten about this event. The prince quickly left with the geniuses of Goblin Spirit University. Is the Holy Way stage one of the places where there are historical remains? Lin Feng asked Princess Piao Shui. Indeed. Holy Way stage is controlled by the Holy Spirit dynasty. The Holy Spirit dynasty is a dynasty like Tianxi dynasty. Usually, they don't allow people to come so easily, but today they invited everyone. I'm a bit surprised, replied Piao Shui. Lin Feng nodded and said, since it's that way, let's go and see the Holy Way stage. Princess Piao Shui smiled thinly and said, all right, I know that geniuses like you are eager to participate. Since they invited you, we can go. Maybe we'll be able to listen to the last saint. And even if we can't, seeing other geniuses will be a great experience. Lin Feng smiled. Since he was in Qitian Holy Town, he wanted to see as many things as possible, especially other geniuses. The Holy Spirit dynasty and the Tianxi dynasty were 2 ancient dynasties. They both had boundless territories. People of the Holy Spirit dynasty controlled holy spiritual techniques. They were very strong and controlled a mysterious kind of strength. Lin Feng and the others arrived at the Holy Spirit dynasty before too long. Someone led the way and took them to a celestial place. It looked like a misty fairyland with many shiny pillars. Many people were already there. Lin Feng saw many women, who all looked incredibly beautiful, with a strong celestial qi. Behind them was a high stone stage, which looked rather illusionary. The Holy Way stage. Many people looked over Lin Feng and the others. But then again, everyone was watching everybody else. Everybody here was really strong. When people glanced at Lin Feng and the others, it was just for a second. However, there were exceptions too. Those beautiful women looked detached, above worldly material attractions. They were from the Moon Palace. They all recognized Lin Feng. Back then, Lin Feng had been abandoned by the gods. Cosmic energies hadn't fallen from the skies to cleanse his body, but they remembered him well. And he was really close to some of them. Lei was there. She hadn't changed too much. Her eyes looked even more beautiful and mature. When she saw Lin Feng, she smiled. When the crowd saw she was smiling at someone, they looked at Lin Feng, surprised someone so beautiful was smiling at someone. But people didn't pay too much attention to her. The people who came here were all extraordinary. Ordinary people would have gone crazy, but not those geniuses. When Lin Feng saw her smile, he smiled and nodded back at her. Then he continued looking around. He noticed someone was looking at him icily. She looked emotionless. Even when she saw Lin Feng, she looked emotionless. "You Xian," exclaimed Meng Qing. They were like sisters, but Yu Xian ignored her. Even when she looked at Lin Feng, she looked ice-cold. Yu Xian turned away. She didn't continue looking at them. Meng Qing looked disappointed. "We have enough people. When are you going to open the Holy Way stage?" asked someone at that moment, smiling at someone from the Holy Spirit dynasty. "No rush. Please go into the building first. We can have a seat, and then we'll listen to the saint." "All right, so many incredible people, yet I don't know many of them." Someone else nodded. People slowly walked towards the many pillars shooting up into the sky. Lin Feng also walked in that direction. Someone joined Lin Feng, and the others as they moved that way. It was Lei. "I've heard that you became famous in the holy city. I'm happy for you," said Lei, smiling slightly. She looked seductive only when she looked at Lin Feng. "Have a seat," said Lin Feng to Lei. She sat down next to him. "How's the Moon Palace?" Lin Feng asked calmly. He felt calmer these days. So many things had happened, so much time had passed. Lei had abandoned him, he had been sad. But now he had gotten over her. However, Lei had never promised him anything. She had just said they'd be a couple for 100 days. Then she had really abandoned him, and Lin Feng had really been disappointed. But he was okay now. When Lei saw that Lin Feng looked so serene, she sighed. She would always be an acquaintance. Even though Lin Feng smiled at her, it wasn't like it had been in the past. They just met when they bumped into one another, and they talked to one another out of politeness. There was no happiness, no sadness. But it was her choice. She had made her decision. "It's all right. The Moon Palace doesn't lack resources. I have many powerful scriptures, and they keep helping us," replied Lei. They hadn't thought they'd be able to have a normal conversation like this if they met again. "Good. You finally found your path. I hope you'll become really strong, and that your dreams will become reality." Lin Feng wished her success. Lei smiled and replied, "I will do my best. I think about you sometimes. I wonder whether I've made a mistake or not. But in the end, it was my choice. However, if someday you really become a demon god, will you remember our promise?" Lei smiled at him teasingly. Lin Feng's heart started pounding violently. A promise, the demon god and the ice and snow goddess. But they still had a long way to go. Chapter 1999. Holy Way stage. Lin Feng finally stopped talking to Lei. Lei didn't mind. She just smiled and remained silent. Her head lowered. It was impossible to know what she was thinking. "Only the few of you came?" Lin Feng asked her. "Indeed," replied Lei, raising her head again. "What's her social status in Moon Palace?" asked Lin Feng, pointing at Yu Xian. Lei looked at her and murmured, "She's a holy woman of the Moon Palace. Her social status is higher than ours. She's our leader this time. She's extremely emotionless. She is not the same person she used to be." "I understand," Lin Feng nodded. He smiled at her and said, "Yu Xian." Yu Xian shivered and looked at Lin Feng emotionlessly. She looked extremely aloof. However, Lin Feng just smiled in a resplendent way and said, "Yu Xian, you are my woman. You will always be mine. Nobody will ever steal you from me, not even the path of emotionlessness." When Yu Xian heard him, she trembled, but her eyes remained ice-cold as she released emotionlessness energies. Many people looked between Lin Feng and Yu Xian. Yu Xian was walking on the path of emotionlessness. It was rare to see such people. That young man had a lot of good fortune in love affairs though. He was surrounded by extremely beautiful women. "That guy is Lin Feng," He's a medium-level emperor. A year ago, on the Pathfinder Day of the Imperial ranking list in the Holy City, he defeated Ji Cheng the champion. He is third on the Imperial ranking list. I've heard that a saint helped him fight against 4 ancient holy clans, so they couldn't capture him. Can't Champion University protect him? Why would he need to rely on a saint to protect him? It seems a bit exaggerated to me. After all, he's just a medium-level emperor. I don't think he can defeat high-level emperors. But he's lucky, that's a fact. He's third on the Imperial ranking list. He defeated Ji Cheng. It's not an exaggeration. Go and fight against him and you'll see. Everybody expressed their opinions. Many people looked at Lin Feng in cold assessment. Lin Feng heard them, but he remained calm. He didn't care about them. Zhuo Qing. At that moment, someone recognized another person. Zhuo Qing, he had a king-type body. It's him. No wonder he has a diamond indestructible king-type body. His eyebrows are even golden and look sharp. He's got a diamond indestructible king-type body, one of the 5 elemental king-type bodies. I've heard that his defense and offense are incredible. Diamond indestructible king-type body? Lin Feng was startled. He had heard about such a body, one of the 5 elemental king-type bodies, golden type. Such bodies were difficult to destroy. He had rarely seen emperors who had a better defense than such people. When such a person reached the top of the Huang Qi layer, they had a terrifying defense. They didn't need to be proclaimed champions. They were already kings in and of themselves. Zhuo Qing walked through the crowd and said to the members of the Holy Spirit dynasty, "Greetings, I hope I'm not disturbing anyone." "Zhuo Qing, please come." A member of the Holy Spirit dynasty replied politely. Zhuo Qing nodded and sat down. Someone said, "Zhuo Qing, I've heard that you had killed a great emperor who understands Dao strength. How strong was he?" Killed a great emperor who understood Dao strength? The crowd was astonished. People who had king-type bodies really had an advantage. Ordinary great emperors couldn't compete with emperors who had king-type bodies. Zhuo Qing had reached the top of the Huang Qi layer, and he had a diamond indestructible king-type body, so that was normal. Since I killed him, it means he wasn't that strong, Zhuo Qing said calmly. Golden lights kept twinkling all around him. Haha, if we have the opportunity, let's exchange views on cultivation, said someone with pitch-black eyes and hair. It was the one against whom Lin Feng had fought, from Goblin Spirit University. We'll have many opportunities, Zhuo Qing said calmly. Crazy Bull. I can't wait to see your battle, someone laughed. Crazy Bull was his nickname. His spirit was an ancient bull. He knew all sorts of bull-related powers and spells. He was terrifyingly strong, and he looked like a crazy bull. More and more people arrived. Lin Feng noticed some people he knew. Chu Chunxiu was wearing a blue robe. He looked calm and poised. Some people were with him, the strongest people of the Celestial Godly University. There were some people of the dynasty too. They had invited people from the Celestial Godly University. Ying Cheng had already become a great emperor, so he wasn't on the imperial ranking list anymore. Lin Feng and Chu Chunxiu were now second and first respectively. Prince Tianhua. Are those people the geniuses from the Celestial Godly University? Indeed, nodded the young man next to Chu Chunxiu. Which one is Chu Chunxiu? Asked that person. Chu Chunxiu was famous. The prince laughed and pointed to Chu Chunxiu. The 2 most outstanding cultivators of the Holy City are here. Chu Chunxiu is from the Chu clan, and is the new King Chu. He's the first one on the ranking list of the Holy City, and he knows the sky-absorbing scriptures, and the celestial evolution holy scriptures. Please sit down, everybody. A member of the Holy Spirit dynasty spoke up with a wide smile. Everybody seemed friendly at that moment. Many people compared Lin Feng and Chu Chunxiu. Back then, they hadn't fought. But Chu Chunxiu was a high-level emperor, so Lin Feng would have probably lost. More people arrived, many of them geniuses. A mysterious cultivator arrived. He was extremely strong and looked extraordinary. He could steal people's luck, and therefore he was always lucky. Many people wanted to steal his precious items, but in the end, he usually stole their luck. Many people also talked about the holy place. Luck would be important there. So many people are here, can't we start? Someone asked the members of the Holy Spirit dynasty. Those people nodded, and one of them said, "All right, we can activate the Holy Way stage." After that, they landed in front of the illusion. Some ancient imprints appeared and fell down upon the stage. It started shaking, and a mysterious chi appeared. Everybody sensed a strange mysterious strength, manifesting as a blowing wind. It was an ancient chi. "Everybody, the Holy Way stage is activated. It's a historical vestige. You can test your talent. You might hear the voice of the saints too," said a celestial woman of the Holy Spirit dynasty, smiling slightly. She was incredibly beautiful. But the people didn't even look at her. They were all looking at the Holy Spirit dynasty. Ancient vestiges were fascinating. All those people had heard of such things, but never experienced them for themselves. It was an opportunity. Chapter 2000. Potential Peerless Cultivators. The crowd drew closer to the Holy Way stage. Princess Piaoshui murmured, "It could be great. I've heard of the sages' voices. When people talk about the Holy Way stage, they all talk about the vestiges. The soul of a saint is sealed inside." Lin Feng nodded, his eyes glittering. He was going to try. At that moment, a strong wind started blowing, and a young man landed in front of the Holy Way stage. He said, "Master, I'd like to try. I want to hear the sage's voice." That person jumped right onto the Holy Way stage. He didn't use the stairs. As he landed, his feet hadn't even touched the Holy Way stage before his face changed drastically. He was suddenly hurled away and blood splashed everywhere. His face turned deathly pale as his chi roiled uncontrollably, his soul shaken violently. He landed back on the ground and closed his eyes. One strike. Those watching were astonished. The Holy Way stage was really powerful. That person hadn't used the flight of stairs, and he was badly injured. Had he heard the saint's voice, though? Some people looked nervous. Only very talented people could go onto the Holy Way stage. Someone else walked forwards. He vigilantly walked up to the battle stage and put his foot on the flight of stairs. A terrifying strength smashed into him. He grunted with pain and his foot was pushed backwards. His face turned deathly pale, but his eyes glinted with fury as he tried to resist. He was injured again. A hole had appeared on his chest and suddenly, blood started flowing from the wound. He can't even put his foot on the first step? Those watching were startled. These people were all geniuses. They were the strongest people of their region. But here, they couldn't put a foot on the first step of a flight of stairs? What's going on? The crowd didn't know what was happening. The attack doesn't aim at a specific part of your body. Your whole body is suddenly affected, said the second man. If you're careless, you can die. I'm going to have a rest for now. After he walked away, someone else arrived. That person was wearing a cosmic energy armor. He looked determined as he walked up to the flight of stairs. Same as a moment before, a terrifying strength crushed down on him, ignoring his defense. His armor exploded, and the attack even reached his muscles. He also coughed up lots of blood onto the Holy Way stage, but the stage immediately swallowed it, as if the blood had never appeared on it. Third one, thought the geniuses. They realized it wasn't that easy to get on the Holy Way stage. According to legends, the Holy Way stage tests your abilities to see if you're really talented. But if you can't put a foot on the first step, doesn't it prove something? Said someone, looking at the members of the Holy Spirit dynasty. You want me to tell you the truth? The beautiful woman of the Holy Spirit dynasty smiled. The first three cultivators shivered. What did it mean? They were not talented. We can handle the truth. There is no harm in saying what one thinks, said the one who was recovering while seated cross-legged. If you can't put your foot on the first step, it means that you don't have the potential to become a saint, said the woman calmly. The crowd shivered. The ones who had tried were disappointed. All those people were determined and talented, but not everybody had the potential to become a peerless cultivator. People had two different ways of thinking. If you can't put your foot on the first step, you'll never become a peerless cultivator. So I need to put my foot on the second step at least. Otherwise I'll lose face. And that wouldn't be good for my cultivation. The second type of people thought, if I don't have the potential to become a peerless cultivator, then I'll need to defy the heavens. It means you are far, very far from being able to become a peerless cultivator someday, said the girl coldly. She was warning those people. They shivered. Some of them looked relieved. It didn't mean they would never have the opportunity then. It just meant they maybe wouldn't if they didn't find a solution. Even though they didn't have the potential at that moment, they could change things. A strong wind started blowing again. Someone landed before the Holy Way stage and put his foot on the first step. Rumbling sounds rose, and he shook violently, but didn't flinch back. It was like a mountain had landed on the first step. He shouted extremely loudly and put his foot on the second step. His blood started boiling, and his bones emitted crackling sounds. No! The man's face changed drastically. He looked petrified and quickly drew back. Explosive force dispersed past him as he did so. He asked the woman of the Holy Spirit dynasty, "What kind of indicator is the second step?" In terms of blood and bones, you don't have the potential to become a peerless cultivator. You need to improve in that aspect, the woman informed him carefully. That person nodded and said, "Thank you very much for your teachings. No wonder I was oppressed like that. I had the sensation my blood and bones were going to explode." The Holy Way stage is incredible. If someone managed to walk up the flight of stairs, they might hear the saint, murmured those staring at the stage. They felt so motivated. If they succeeded, wouldn't it mean that they had the potential to become peerless cultivators? Saints, kings, such people could transcend worldliness. Let's see if the stage can stop me. It was Crazy Bull. He jumped forwards, rumbles and eruptions sounding about him. He roared and put his foot on the first step. He didn't stop, he continued walking up. A mighty bull had appeared behind him. His hair was fluttering in the wind, and he was already on the second step. He hasn't been forced away, which means he has the proper blood and bones to become a peerless cultivator. Can he climb up to the third one? Wondered the crowd, eyes fixed on Crazy Bull. He stopped for a few seconds and then continued, making a big step to the third step. Boom boom. He shook violently and roared thunderously. Many people shuddered. He's stable. Crazy Bull was on the third step. How strong. No wonder he was a champion. He had incredible potential. It means you're determined enough to become a peerless cultivator someday, said the woman of the Holy Spirit dynasty. The Holy Way stage was a test of various attributes, actually. However, there were 2 big steps before Crazy Bull, and then the actual Holy Way stage. Finally, Crazy Bull moved again. He put a foot on the 4th step, and his face turned deathly pale. He tried to remain determined. His face turned red. Blood appeared in his eyes, ears and nose. The air shook with thunder, and Crazy Bull was hurled back as his blood gushed out. He crashed at the foot of the stage. He had failed. Crazy Bull, a champion, had also failed. It meant he didn't have all the characteristics to potentially become a peerless cultivator. Not bad, said the woman of the Holy Spirit dynasty. Even in the Holy Spirit dynasty, few people could get to the 4th step. Chapter 2001. Highest level. The Holy Way stage is very strange. You can't see the attacks. I wonder how it's been designed. It almost looks alive. And it can test different things, murmured Ho Ching Lin to Lin Feng and the others. Brother, you also want to know where the attacks come from? Lin Feng smiled. Historic vestiges were marvelous. The Holy Way stage was being used to test people's talent, weaknesses, and strengths, but it seemed to have other uses. Did peerless cultivators have to be flawless in all aspects? Was it impossible to become a peerless cultivator without the proper blood strength, bones, physical strength, intent, and so on? Was it why some holy great emperors were stuck at that cultivation level and couldn't transcend worldliness and attain holiness? I'm going to try too. Ho Ching Lin nodded. All right, we all have to try anyway. Lin Feng smiled knowingly. After Crazy Bull tried, so did many other people. However, nobody had managed to set foot on the Holy Way stage. It was too difficult. It meant that the cultivator already met all the requirements to become a peerless cultivator someday. Even without talking about getting onto the stage itself, getting to the 3rd step was already extremely difficult. Nobody had managed to do better than Crazy Bull. The requirements to become a peerless cultivator someday were extremely strict. Having the proper blood, bones, and body was already really difficult, but having the proper intent was even harder. Crazy Bull had managed to get onto the third step because he was incredibly determined. When Ho Qinglin walked out, many people pulled long faces. After all, he was still a medium-level emperor. In the Holy City, he wasn't as famous as Chu Chunqiu or Lin Feng. Only people from Champion University knew that Ho Qinglin was quite strong. When Ho Qinglin stepped onto the first step, he shook visibly. A mysterious kind of strength surrounded him invisibly. Ho Qinglin understood that no matter what kind of defense technique you used, it was useless. Powers and spells weren't part of your body. Ho Qinglin coughed up blood. Many people shook their heads. They all thought, as expected, he can't handle it. Not even the first step. However, after a short time, Ho Qinglin was still on the first step. People looked at him strangely. He was injured, but he hadn't been pushed away. Ho Qinglin moved his foot, a ferocious expression on his blood-covered face. He lifted his foot and put it on the second step, then his second foot. The second step was to test a cultivator's blood and bones, and Ho Qinglin's blood started boiling, his bones crackling. It looked extremely painful, the kind of pain that could kill weak people. But Ho Qinglin endured the pain. He was standing steadily on the second step, his robe fluttering in the wind. Those watching were stunned. Ho Qinglin had passed the challenge of the second step. The beautiful woman of the Holy Spirit dynasty was surprised. She murmured, "His body, blood, and bones might not be powerful enough, but he's extremely determined. It means that if you're determined, even if you lack some things, you can succeed. He will probably have no problem getting onto the third step, either." Ho Qinglin remained silent, unlike Crazy Bull, who had been shouting like a madman, and wasn't any weaker than Crazy Bull. Then, Ho Qinglin stepped onto the third step without any problem, astonishing everyone further. People's hearts started pounding. There are always talented individuals in hiding, and there is no link between reputation and cultivation level. The people who are here are all geniuses. Everybody here must be determined, thought the crowd. After all, they were all geniuses. When Ho Qinglin climbed onto the first step, the crowd wasn't jealous. They were amazed and admired him. And those who had failed felt even more determined to become stronger. Those who had failed felt ashamed, because they had the impression they weren't determined enough. At that moment, Ho Qinglin raised his head and focused on the next step. Finally, he moved his foot and lifted it. His soul shook violently. An invisible and intangible strength struck his soul. It looked extremely painful, and it felt as if his soul was going to explode. He released reincarnation intent, and stepped fully up onto the next step. His reincarnation strength and chi dashed to the skies. Ho Qinglin's chi was suddenly even more powerful. A strong wind made of reincarnation strength whistled about him. He broke through. The crowd was astonished, including Lin Feng. Then he smiled, happy for his friend. Ho Qinglin smiled too. His silhouette flickered. He moved aside and sat down cross-legged to finish breaking through. "Lin Feng, your friend is really strong," spoke up Princess Piaoshui. She had thought that Lin Feng would be the only one who could help her when she invited the group along, and had underestimated the others, finding out that Ho Qinglin was extraordinary too. Surprisingly, he had become a high-level emperor on the flight of stairs. Of course, Lin Feng smiled knowingly. Back then in the small world, he used to protect me all the time. I admired him, and I still do. Princess Piaoshui shivered when she saw Lin Feng's wide smile. She hadn't realized Ho Qinglin and Lin Feng were so close. Someone else ran up to the flight of stairs. Zhuoqing, diamond indestructible king-type body. As everybody had anticipated, Zhuoqing jumped onto the first step without any problem. He had a king-type body, which meant he had the potential to become a king. So of course he couldn't have a body problem. Then, he stepped onto the second step, no problem either. Then he continued to the third step. At that moment, Zhuoqing stopped for a few seconds. A sharp look appeared in his eyes. Golden lights appeared around him. Sharp golden lights dashed to the skies. People who were very determined weren't affected by that invisible and intangible strength. He was still standing steadily there. Will Zhuoqing do better than everyone else? Some people wondered aloud. Zhuoqing continued walking towards the fourth step, and then up onto it. This one tested a cultivator's soul. A mysterious strength came down on Zhuoqing's soul, shaking it with the pressure, yet he remained silent and calm. He was still surrounded by dazzling golden lights, and he looked like a motionless mountain. As expected, he's stable. Zhuoqing moved his foot, getting ready to try the fifth and last step. If he managed to get onto the Holy Way stage, it would mean that he already met all the requirements to become a peerless cultivator someday. Zhuoqing heard someone sigh mentally, as if a saint were sighing. An endless amount of Tao power crashed onto his body, and suddenly he shouted furiously. Golden lights rose powerfully as he started releasing Tao intent. A dazzling golden circle appeared above his head. He's on it, how strong! Those watching were stunned. Zhuoqing was on the fifth step. 2 steps more, and he'd be on the Holy Way stage. Zhuoqing continued his slow walk forwards towards the Holy Way stage. The crowd shivered, all nervous and staring at him. Finally, Zhuoqing arrived next to the edge of the stage, and suddenly turned into a light beam, startling everyone. Chapter 2002. Potential Peerless Cultivators. Zhuoqing appeared in the sky, and landed on the last step again. However, his face had paled, and his cheeks were bright red. A golden light appeared faintly around him. He rose up high into the air, and sat down cross-legged. What had happened? He just had to take 2 more steps, and he'd be on the Holy Way stage. Zhuoqing failed. He can't go on to the Holy Way stage, who can do it? Wondered someone, as everyone looked at Zhuoqing, who was now seated cross-legged far above them. Zhuoqing murmured, "The saint is sighing." The saint is sighing? Everyone was startled as they looked at the Holy Way stage. Had Zhuoqing heard a saint sigh? Had he heard a saint? He's got a diamond indestructible king-type body. He's got all the prerequisites to become a peerless cultivator someday. Unfortunately, he still needs a little bit more. But if he continues studying hard, he'll definitely become a peerless cultivator someday, said the woman of the Holy Spirit dynasty slowly. People remained silent, staring at the Holy Way stage solemnly and respectfully. A saint had just sighed. Someone emerged from the crowd, and moved towards the Holy Way stage with a whistling of qi. Chu Chunqiu. Many eyes twinkled. Chu Chunqiu, first cultivator on the imperial ranking list in the Holy City. He was the strongest emperor in the Holy City, a symbol and descendant of King Chu. Can Chu Chunqiu do as well as Zhuoqing? Was the question being whispered. Chu Chunqiu jumped onto the first step. No problem at all. Then he jumped onto the second one. No problem either. He looked like a motionless mountain. His bones and blood were perfect. He jumped onto the third step, which tested a cultivator's intent. He raised his head and looked at the sky. The crowd had a hallucination, as if the sky was an ancient king. Then he jumped onto the fourth step, which tested soul strength. His soul shook, strength rising about him. He was still motionless. Fourth step, how strong! The watchers were shaking. Chu Chunqiu wasn't struggling at all. It seemed so easy for him. Chu Chunqiu is extremely strong. No wonder he's the first emperor of the Holy City. I wonder whether he'll manage to step onto the fifth step that easily or not. If he can, it means that he has the potential to become a peerless cultivator, murmured someone, staring at Chu Chunqiu. Chu Chunqiu walked over to the fifth step. Like Zhuoqing, he heard someone sigh in his brain, and power came down on him, shaking everything. The earth and sky darkened, as if a god were about to appear. Chu Chunqiu jumped onto the fifth step, the air still groaning. Just like Zhuoqing, 2 more steps forwards and he'd be on the Holy Way stage. He's stable. Chu Chunqiu did as well as Zhuoqing so far. He's really talented, someone sighed. How strong is he compared to Zhuoqing? Asked someone. They're talented and strong in different ways. It's not because someone is talented that they are good at fighting. Chu Chunqiu is not as strong as Zhuoqing, who has a king-type body. But he has the potential to become a peerless cultivator, replied someone else. Talent, strength, and fighting abilities were all different things. When Chu Chunqiu sensed that he was completely stable, he started walking again. His ancient emperor intent was intense. He was now surrounded by ancient emperors. The earth and sky started shaking again. Someone groaned with pain, as if their organs were about to be cut open. Their soul was quivering. Chu Chunxiu is making the 6th step. He's already surpassed Zhuo Qing. The strength is even more explosive. Someone exclaimed. Chu Chunxiu had already taken 2 steps forward on the 5th step. Zhuo Qing had been pushed backwards after the 1st step. Did Chu Chunxiu have a greater chance to become a peerless cultivator than Zhuo Qing? Zhuo Qing opened his eyes and looked down at Chu Chunxiu. This guy had taken 1 step more than him. How impressive! However, Zhuo Qing quickly closed his eyes again and returned to his meditation. Last step. If he manages to get to the Holy Way stage, it'll mean that he has all the necessary characteristics to become a peerless cultivator someday. Chu Chunxiu lifted his foot as he took a deep breath. It was his last step. At that moment, an eerie silence fell over the crowd. Chu Chunxiu moved his foot. He raised his head and smiled proudly. His hair and robe were fluttering in the wind. There was a tolling sound like a bell being struck. Someone coughed blood, and their face turned deathly pale. They had the sensation their organs were going to explode. Lin Feng and his friends' faces changed slightly. They had heard someone sigh. The pressure was much more intense than a moment before. Lin Feng and his friends had the sensation they were facing an ancient king. The pressure was incredible. Is that a saint's voice? Murmured Lin Feng at the sound. Chu Chunxiu finished making his step, everybody staring at his back in astonishment. King-type body. I'm convinced that guy has a king-type body. He just hides it, declared someone. Indeed, there's King Qi. His kind of King Qi is more powerful than Zhuo Qing's King Qi. Chu Chunxiu has been hiding his king-type body the whole time, said someone else. Everybody agreed and nodded. They were convinced that the first emperor of the Holy City had a king-type body. At that moment, Chu Chunxiu was facing the Holy Way stage. If he took 1 more step forward, he'd be on the Holy Way stage. Will there be a terrifying strength on the Holy Way stage? Someone wondered softly. Chu Chunxiu stopped for a few seconds, before taking a step forward. As he lifted his foot towards the stage, his hair and robe fluttered violently. Chu Chunxiu's qi didn't weaken, he looked like an ancient king. Finally he put his lead foot on it, and then his second foot. He was the first person to step onto the Holy Way stage. Silence reigned. Surprisingly, someone had all the characteristics required to be a peerless cultivator. And that guy was a student at the Celestial Godly University, from the Chu clan in the vast celestial ancient city. A new peerless cultivator might appear in the Holy City in the future. Someone murmured. Chu Chunxiu had the potential to become a peerless cultivator. The Holy Spirit Dynasty spokeswoman shivered. Chu Chunxiu was here for the Holy Spirit Dynasty. He had the potential to become a peerless cultivator. I'm happy for the Chu clan, said someone at that moment. Back in the days, King Chu was powerful and influential, but they had only read about him in books. Not necessarily. Back then, there was an insane peerless cultivator in the Chu clan. He's now in the Moon Palace. And it's not because you have the characteristics to become a peerless king that you actually are one. It just means you have potential. You have to practice cultivation properly, and be lucky to become one too. But at least, it proves that he's extremely strong, and I don't think I could compete with him in a battle. People chattered, while Chu Chunxiu was still on the stage. People who didn't have king-type bodies could become kings, and people who did have a king-type body didn't necessarily become kings. Everybody's path was different. Chapter 2003. Holy Throne. Chu Chunxiu was still standing on the Holy Way stage, looking like a king, but not arrogant at all. People were watching him. Suddenly, on the Holy Way stage, a throne appeared, 9 dragons carved on it. Their faces were facing Chu Chunxiu, and they contained sky-absorbing qi. What's that? Was the next question from multiple throats. Surprisingly, a dragon throne had appeared on the Holy Way stage. It looked like an ancient throne, the seat of a saint. That throne appeared because Chu Chunxiu got onto the Holy Way stage. Will Chu Chunxiu obtain an ancient kind of strength? It's a holy emperor's throne. It's an ancient throne. In old days the saints sat on it. said someone. Everybody glanced at that person, a young man with imperial chi. He was staring at the throne. Holy Way stage, Holy Way stage. It was as if he had suddenly understood something. How do you know? I've seen such thrones in my dynasty. It's an ancient throne, the kind that are transmitted by ancestors. I've seen it in ancient paintings. It even looks like my own throne, replied the man. He was a prince from a dynasty. When the crowd heard him, they looked at the woman of the Holy Spirit dynasty solemnly. She was also staring at the Holy Way stage. Holy Way stage, Holy Imperial Throne. Chu Chunxiu was staring at the throne. King Qi pulsed around him. The Holy Way stage wasn't the last step at all. The strength which emerged from the Holy Imperial Throne was even more terrifying. Chu Chunxiu's robe was fluttering violently as he made a step and suddenly groaned with pain. His face started bleeding. Everybody who was watching could sense the terrifying pressure. Qi started to shriek as Chu Chunxiu made another step, but he couldn't handle it anymore. He was driven backwards, so hard it looked like his bones had been crushed, a strong wind carrying him back. Those watchers were quiet. He had failed. Even though Chu Chunxiu had managed to get onto the Holy Way stage, he hadn't passed the challenge of the throne. He crashed to the ground. He looked expressionlessly up at the Holy Way stage. The King Qi around him also dispersed. It disappeared. Everyone sighed as the throne disappeared. The throne only appears when someone is on the Holy Way stage, mused someone else. A new person ran towards the Holy Way stage. Seeing Chu Chunxiu advance, that far made everyone feel even more determined. Many people wanted to try. Several more people tried, all of them determined. And even when they failed, they were determined to study harder and to become stronger. At least, the stage helped them know where they had to improve. However, nobody did as well as Chu Chunxiu. Even if he had failed to sit on the throne, he had proven to himself that he had the potential to become a peerless cultivator someday. Even Zhuo Qing hadn't gone so far. So many geniuses, thought Lin Feng, watching people try one after another in silent approval. The first step was already a great challenge. Having the necessary body characteristics to become a peerless cultivator wasn't easy. Some people even managed to advance as far as Zhuo Qing and step on the fifth step. Princess, are you not trying? Lin Feng asked Princess Piao Shui. No, I have no hope. But I can't wait to see you try. I'm guessing you can get to the fourth step at least. The princess replied with a confident smile. Maybe. Lin Feng answered noncommittedly. A silhouette flickered as Jian Meng gave it a try. When he took the first step, people thought he was going to fall, as he even coughed up blood. But he endured it. The second step wasn't easy for him either. However, on the third step, he was as motionless as a mountain. On the fourth step, the invisible and intangible strength bombarded his soul, and he was driven away. He wasn't dispirited, however. He was happy and even more determined. The people who had come with Lin Feng were all incredibly strong. A short time before, Ho Qing Lin had reached the fourth step, and he had broken through. He had even become a high-level emperor. Meng Qing, you want to try? Lin Feng whispered to Meng Qing. No. I can get on to the fifth step, Meng Qing replied easily. Lin Feng was surprised and laughed. Perhaps you can get onto the Holy Way stage? I'm not going. Meng Qing shook her head. Lin Feng shrugged. He wasn't going to force her. Sometimes, she wasn't interested in doing some things. Lin Feng, go and sit on the throne, said Meng Qing, smiling at Lin Feng. After the next challenger came back, Lin Feng went up to the stage. Lin Feng. Many people recognized him now. He was a medium-level emperor. He had defeated Ji Chang. He was the second emperor of the Holy City. And after having been amazed by Chu Chunxiu, they couldn't wait to see Lin Feng's performance. How great was the difference between Lin Feng and Chu Chunxiu, the first and second emperors of the Holy City. The Holy Way stage has nothing to do with one's cultivation level. It's about one's body. How far do you think Lin Feng can go? His physical strength is incredible. In terms of blood and bones, he should have no problem. The first and second step should be easy for him. He defeated Ji Chang, so the third step shouldn't stop him either. The fourth step is about soul strength. Maybe he's like his two friends and will stop there. People chattered one after another. Most people thought highly of Lin Feng and were convinced he'd get onto the fourth step, which was already amazing. Most people thought he couldn't make it to the last step, however. Maybe, since he defeated Ji Chang as a medium-level emperor, the fourth step should be doable, but the fifth step, I don't think so. While they were talking, Lin Feng walked up onto the first step, and a fearsome strength bore down on him like a hammer. But he didn't stop, and immediately jumped onto the second step. His blood started boiling, and his bones emitted crackling sounds. The invisible and intangible strength was explosive. His entire body was being attacked. Lin Feng looked relaxed though, and continued walking to the third step. A terrifying and oppressive strength bombarded his will. His brain hurt. He suddenly had the impression he was powerless and useless, like a nobody. His will was being crushed. However, that nobody raised his head and welcomed the terrifying strength without flinching. Demon intent surged around him. Third step, he looks relaxed. He has no problems in terms of bones, blood, and intent. The fourth step should be fine too. Lin Feng still looked relaxed. He walked up to the fourth step, and his soul was hammered. If a cultivator had a weak soul strength, the stairs could kill them instantly. Lin Feng felt tiny, as if he were facing a giant. Determination was a constant challenge though. Many people had managed to get onto the first and second step thanks to their willpower. He's stable, the watchers observed quickly. Lin Feng had most of the characteristics to become a peerless cultivator someday. The top two emperors of the Holy City were extremely strong, as expected. Lin Feng continued walking towards the fifth step, stepping up on it, and he heard someone sigh. An invisible, intangible, oppressive, and explosive strength crashed down onto him. He couldn't protect himself, he could just welcome the energies. Lin Feng raised his head. He wasn't going to give up. He looked up at the sky proudly. Life and death Tao intent surged around him and turned into a cloud. It was like Lin Feng was fighting against the gods, against the saints. He's surprisingly stable. Those watching noticed in astonishment. Lin Feng was really strong, making it to the fifth step. The two cultivators of the Holy City were both incredible. However, while everybody was being amazed, Lin Feng continued walking forward, the air rumbling at his approach. A terrifying, invisible and intangible strength filled the air and assaulted Lin Feng's soul. Lin Feng took a second step. No, he looked like an ancient demon to those watching. He was going to make a third step. The bell tolled, destructive energies roiled and many people pulled long faces, not daring to look. Lin Feng was going to go onto the stage, something that Zhuo Qing hadn't managed to accomplish. Chapter 2004, Me Alone on the Throne. Many people's faces paled, some coughed up blood. The invisible and intangible strength was oppressing everyone. They also heard the saint sigh in an ancient voice. They watched Lin Feng. After his third step, everything had been shaking. Then the wind suddenly dispersed. He was still steady, and continued walking towards the Holy Way stage. Can Lin Feng get onto the stage? They wondered. The two top cultivators of the Holy City seemed to be the protagonists on that day. Would they both be remembered as people who had been onto the Holy Way stage? Chu Chunxiu was the only one who had managed to get onto the Holy Way stage so far. And Lin Feng and Chu Chunxiu were both from the Holy City. Nobody had thought that Lin Feng would be the second one to do this. Was Lin Feng going to accomplish something only Chu Chunxiu had managed to do so far? Like Chu Chunxiu, Lin Feng stepped onto the Holy Way stage. The atmosphere was eerily silent. Lin Feng had succeeded. Chu Chunxiu and Lin Feng had both been onto the Holy Way stage. They both had the potential to become peerless cultivators. He just had to break through now. How incredible! The two cultivators from the Holy City are amazing. Lin Feng is really talented. I underestimated him. He defeated Ji Chang. And Ji Chang wasn't weak. But Lin Feng is really strong and talented. Otherwise he wouldn't be on the Holy Way stage. Were the hushed whispers. When Lin Feng stepped onto the Holy Way stage, he understood what Chu Chunxiu had gone through, as the pressure was terrifying. The oppressive strength surrounded his body, and oppressed his veins, flesh and muscles. It was as if the cosmos was about to collapse onto him. The holy imperial throne appeared slowly. The throne of peerless cultivators. Endless ancient qi rolled around him. Lin Feng looked at the throne and thought it looked alive. Where does the saint's voice come from? Lin Feng asked aggressively. He took a step forwards. The crowd heard another ancient sigh and sensed a terrifying pressure building. Lin Feng looked proud, like an ancient king. However, Lin Feng was the only one who could understand what he was going through. Everyone was staring at him. His blood was boiling violently, his soul was shaking, his will was being crushed. Is that a saint's voice? Murmured Lin Feng. He stared at the holy imperial throne and heard the sigh again. It came from there. Lin Feng had the sensation that the whole Holy Way stage was alive. Why would I fear a saint's sigh? Lin Feng took another step forward. A hurricane appeared as the saint sighed again. Each time, the strength oppressed him badly, but Lin Feng kept releasing demon energy. He looked like an ancient demon. The saint couldn't crush his will. Lin Feng was getting closer and closer to the throne. Those watching were astonished. He had done better than Chu Chunxiu. Many of them were bleeding now. They had the sensation they were going to suffocate. He's still walking forwards, someone murmured. Dong! The earth and sky shook again. People kept coughing up blood, and some fell down on their knees, their faces all pale. That guy is insane, thought Chu Chunxiu, staring at Lin Feng. He had been there, he knew how terrifying the pressure was. Maybe if he had been more determined, he would have managed to get onto the throne, but he hadn't thought it was necessary. An old man is sighing, the Holy Way stage is his body, said Chu Chunxiu. People were startled and turned to Chu Chunxiu. Their eyes were glittering knowingly. The saint's body, Chu Chunxiu repeated indifferently. Another sigh swept out and made the stage shake. Everybody's faces were pale now. Many geniuses were badly injured. He's crazy, thought everyone staring at Lin Feng. People were now being hurled away from the stage, one after another as the saint kept sighing. People were astonished. The saint's voice, it's really a saint's voice. The crowd was trembling. Lin Feng was making the saint sigh unceasingly. The earth and sky were resonating with it. Lin Feng's face was gray, he looked dead. It wasn't his own death Dao intent anymore. It was like the earth and sky were about to collapse. His blood was boiling, thunder was echoing, his soul shook. It was as if he were about to die. Only the saint sounded indestructible. Lin Feng progressively stopped focusing on the voice and ignored it. He kept calm, as if the voice had disappeared. He focused on calm, the stillness of death, the immortality of death. Suddenly, Lin Feng smiled indifferently. Life-death? The path of life and death. How could he fear life and death? How could the saint's voice destroy his Tao? The saint kept sighing, but it didn't matter to Lin Feng anymore. Lin Feng was fearless. He just slowly walked forwards in a particularly calm and serene way, as if nothing could stop him. Finally, the crowd heard the sound of the Holy Way, as the earth and sky trembled. The sigh seemed to be indestructible. When Lin Feng made another step, the saint sighed one last time. Many people were bleeding and in agony. The earth and sky became normal again, the sun reappeared. The crowd had the impression they had gone through a natural catastrophe. They raised their heads again and saw Lin Feng. He was now standing before the throne. I wouldn't have thought that the most talented person today would be Lin Feng. Someone sighed. Lin Feng wasn't the strongest one here, but he had passed all the challenges of the Holy Way stage. And now he was standing before the Holy Imperial Throne. It proved that Lin Feng was terrifyingly talented. He defeated Ji Chang in the Holy City. And now he's on the Holy Way stage. It's a good thing for the Holy City's champion university. Someone smiled at Chu Chunxiu and asked, Chu Chunxiu, what did you mean about the saint's body? The Holy Way stage is, or has been made using the body of a saint. Each step has been created using a specific part of his body. For example, the second step has probably been made using his blood and bones, the third step his intent, and so on. Chu Chunxiu explained slowly. People listened to him and looked surprised. It was just a bold guess, but it also made sense. What about the throne? Someone asked Chu Chunxiu. If the Holy Way stage was made of a saint's body, then what about the throne? The saint's soul, Chu Chunxiu said emotionlessly. The crowd shivered and looked back at Lin Feng. He was standing there tall and silent. After a long time, Lin Feng finally turned around. His robe fluttered in the wind as he sat down on the throne. Boom, boom, boom. At that moment, the earth and sky started shaking violently, like an earthquake was happening. What's going on? The crowd looked around in astonishment. Was everything going to collapse? At that moment, the women of the Holy Spirit dynasty all looked astonished. They were all shaking too. They fell down on their knees, staring at the Holy Spirit stage. At that moment, a terrifying chi emerged in the Holy Spirit dynasty's territory. Their whole territory was shaking as it came forth. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.